Well, good evening. Baba Jasu Jumedi. So we're live on OK 101.7 FM. All live also across your partner radio stations. Migacho FM, PK live in Kukrentumiti from Despite Media, OK FM. No, yeah, broadcasting, rebroadcasting all the way to your friends and Migacho FM or Kukrentumini Eastern region. You're live also on Naspa Radio, UK. And you're live or High Life Radio or DC, Virginia, Maryland, DMV. And you're live or Kings Jersey Radio or New Jersey, Abroach. Remember, you're live or Dampa Media or Belgium, and France. Isaac Nini team in as about captains by a channel. It's Mama. Good evening. I'm Mama Wakwaba. We are still doing post-election analysis. Any expectation for President-elect John Dramani Mahama or Betina Akonyan. So, but even before cry, you best swear John Mahama in. No? NPP for I don't know if it's a sign of desperation, and NPP for Ankasa having seen that this is a dramatic, monumental defeat in this 2024 election. So NPP for starting my NDC showdown, MMO opposition. Kamini who ye we are. You wait for the government to be sworn in. Until you swear president ni in and not starting a Jumanoa. Normally your first 100 days assessment for the president. But when the President Mahama met Sana Konyano so cry, people started borrow style be it's serious. And Mahama so played into NPP for after in their courts when he releases 120-day plan. For me, that shows he was eager to do the work. But again, also so they are not so better on my opponent topic. Also what the but even before crowd himself, the Speaker of Parliament, he's still the Speaker of Parliament until 7th January. You best swear in the 7th January, no president to penny, you best swear in, you best swear in a new president, we'll swear in a new parliament, and we will swear in a new speaker. Usually, speaker then in 7th January, but around that time now, say if there are nominees, they will swear, they will vote, and then swear in a new speaker. First, a new president will be sworn in. Second, a new parliament, including Omo winning. Now that is why controversy about seats, they must resolve it before 7th January. But one critical issue is why I didn't call LGBT bill 18th, 2 days. Until that means Wednesday. Wednesday, case no come back to Supreme Court. Now you President Mahama bad no be sign it. Then another signing and some President Mahama will sign it. It is the media for especially bloggers. Why are you careful? This law will take him. The way it will crack the whip, a bit shocking component, but not just by the way information. But even before that, Parliament they must resolve it before 7th January. I think your man can start to say NDC for we now, and then I'm in the proper starting program here. Who cause NPP before they didn't have a plan for a year first. They had a plan for election day, but they didn't have a plan for post-voting. About to know, starting from registration, some of my has now boy it's not there. Baby elections, they just tend to insult because no need you can the way I know be the attempt. A registration. But you're more critical. You know your post-election or voting plan. And your election though, vote post. The plan for your coalition agent for how you manage the coalition. One MPP they thought they were in a comfortable lead in the one and this is what in opposition 8 years. Come on, dinner chair. Why are aggressive or more vim? The energy, the enthusiasm, the motivation to take over power was high. It was higher than NDC for MPP for the and the NDC had a plan for 12 years, because that is why you can see some miracle about it. A press conference. No miracle about it. So we are satisfied with the conduct of the election. Why the hell are you doing that? Why? Now, I don't know too much there, but I think election experience I kind of because you don't make that mistake. You have to learn from Kokwanyido's statement. We are in a comfortable lead. We are in a comfortable way. The same really been out to MPP before and then. So they didn't have a plan because plan. And you just plan Keko because I'm sure they had semblance of a plan. But you must have a strategic plan. Number 2, you must have a plan B. And they always means that they become what party for will be. NPP before they didn't have a plan B. NDC had. It is a phenomenon mark in the cassette. NDC for chinchi momonsa. You didn't have a plan. NDC had that plan. Now what? Now opponent they try. Oh, matter. You see, equity is the vigilant, not the indolent. So if you sleep on your right, obi metreo. What da? Opponent don't tell. Master, you go cry blood. Nobody will wait for you. No. And the time and NDC utilize our plan B. When they saw that challenge, at the end seats no parliament ko yemo. Into any Mayan kangum. Near super majority of parliament. NPP had no clue. It took NPP for 2-3 days for them to regroup. Clearly, they didn't have a plan. A plan B. They didn't have a plan B. Contingency plan, no money be. It is about now as a NDC, whether it is true or not. So I'm manipulating. No more NDC to be account because I'm making a say Bruce. What that? Your opponent now only has money. Oh, opponent, no one now this strategy. We go score you. We go put pepper in your eyes. That is what NDC is doing to a MPP. Omo who so many majority. You are down. He who is down, you fear no fall. Until you keep sleeping down. And NDC boys say, "Yaba bohom anatite." And to see no cry yamu di anakoti as yaba bohom will contest and take that seat. Suma will will contest and take that seat. Temasan try, but she will be asking that will take that seat. They are taking that seat too. You are joking. You are sleeping on the top. And as I said, they are two MPP for any blame game. We blame away. Now, no, you're happy. I could be. Or say, you're poison. Are you serious? Master, Jai excuse, you know. Honorable happy. I could be. Stop the excuse. They excuse. Master. Worry. Don't come and give anyone to be poison. One can't poison, you know. You have to be a friend. It's an excuse. Worry, Porto, look at the gap. Boundary do chrome. Then an independent candidate has won. Then you want us to buy the cock and bull story. That, oh, you have a poison. I don't want to withdraw from the race. You have a poison. I don't want to withdraw from the race. One who said there's been some poison allegations. You pay the dinner so. I like Carlos Ahinkra. I say, let's learn from it. NDC was so bad. Let them learn from it. Simple and yet. But we have to see when you blame game myself. Obia ya chiche blame na omu nyina benyebi. From Nanado to Baomianomu to Ninianum Cremofona. Even the strategy say we a Cremoni wakwa kojina Philadelphia sorry the Israel for year Gumaya for guti and away. Even the issue I raised about Samira Sobey Cremonia, the pure Cremoni Gumaya fi NPP before the have a dream at of Fioko near the here Namakorino. Your mom feedback, you don't listen. And the blame game media. See, I can't say we ma blame game from Nanado to the last party fuso ye bema musika mo fan ko social media mo fan come the delegate mo fan come crofo mo tonight can to we scan di obi abenya ne de to stop the blame game. NDC for 8 years o mako your homework no maba do your homework and come back. Say 8 years you say 12 years you say 1 years you come back because at that point here nobody can claim so comfortably. Ghana for your system. Ghana for no more America for they say almost system everywhere you go. You to abandon ya system. Oh yeah, so better amount. They always change. And when you blame game, nti mon catch on abo apia ku bi se on Ghana no to when you asebia. Ketia mon ba ya ketia mon wi ye no no agitum say go for catch say they will thank him. But no him say they will score him, put pepper in his eye. What you have to mo the baby? Simple. Don't come and appoint any idea matter. You nyam kola wo kro matter. Worry. You nyam kola sa bebre are your man kasa. Or create homework or pepper a young man be replacing no campaign aboa. They will look for the young man to campaign for them. But excuse no also. Focus on opposition, no. And some of these things say one person I feel the all can hear. Here are Eugene, a Subi, a MP. You see, the reason why they are Eugene, they are valid feedback, valid blame game, and all man, because Eugene, they are he was loud when MPP was in government. He was one of the very few people who didn't care about the Obedi. And he called them out, including Nanado. So victimizing you, one victimizing your post and Mepe, maybe any Pamo Kenofriata, and a one Pamono. Canadian Japan was loud when MPP was in government. He criticized them or say corruption, moody sika or So if and Canadian Japan can odi say okay, it's a valid feedback. Wakanda. Now more money now my be matter free can be muddy. And crime by muddy, and one by muddy. Oh, Korea now about be nothing a poison. You're poison, baby. Where is the evidence? Doctors report on here. I can say you're poison. Huh? Then I catch you and let's say you're poison. That you're poison one withdraw from the race. Huh? You're poison. And one withdraw from the race. I'm a brand baby uncle. Why were you insisting on contesting? See, tonight, Kojoba had my idea. A barredo in a Kojoba Adima. I don't know one time. I mean, what is it? Excuse upon needless excuses. Why we go and do your homework and come back? Say the NDC, I owe you. About all this, this is not the first time we'll be and this is not the first time we'll be winning. 2000, Rollins a crowd, you're so Jenny, but now, 2000, Ghana 40 years, almost the same. 2008, Dr. Fire maternal health. Why NHIS? Why a friend say school feeding and so Ghana for sale, almost a month and another month. Almost 2 months from being Prof. Samuels. 2016, Mahama, why radio hospital, why airport, why I say I could Dubai, so Ghana for so month to Oman to Amano changing 1 million votes. And then Mahama come back to claim the 1 million vote plus 600,000, 1.6 million or their NPP for any shenanigans. What two of you? This is not the first time. Has a game of chess will be winning or be lose. The most important and critical thing in the which is that government not all banner. Would the government be able to fix Ghana? Because you say, and now 8 years in now, there was serious demonstration by the youth of Ghana to fix Ghana or fix Ghana, say, fix infrastructure, create jobs, economy, fix it. All these things went to me and getting 100% now for 2 no. What I say, me can say I because I they do their best. And we have as citizens and voters, we have a right here to measure a buy say, what you must so any ana and so any ana. 20cc year to Tia Mahama. The same to the Mahama, I don't know to work at a year present. Or say you want to me I into Yana Judin another 20. Now all here another 10 and no I call time of call 2 for said no I call and no I do them got to Samuel to work and another bit. And of course he was not listening. What year was forget it? On Tobia. If I didn't Tobia, I'm already another day. I know my dear. Akonyana Kasam, Akonyana is you, Presidential Akonyan, Akonya is out. Oh, what transfer I had been passed there and I would go transfer to be a yard in a better. I had a Pocobrino. Unya Kotsina to pay into be a better. But I like the advice of Carlos Ahinkra, former MP for Sema West, or they ma NDC. Don't make the mistakes. Until I'm governor, you better Pamu Chief Justice, and you better teaching Kofa to Massa. I know you're a law professor. I'm not going to be to see MPP for to move under President Kubo. What the hell thing I call court and any touching Kofa? We say, yeah, call airport. You are going. Do you have the goddamn right to stop somebody who put on a valid passport, put on a valid ticket from traveling, unless you have a court order? Me more beyond the ending trunk Chelsea betting me airport. I got you way. What the hell? Ooh, that idea. Yeah, so I am going that I owe. They have a teaching way for teaching wine. Why not? Do you have an order? Do you have a police report? Do you have a sexual bench warrant or a sexual warrant? You don't have. You have not even filed any complaint with anybody. Say, I'm not teaching for police. Busa Tamil so buy a rolling to catch us one teaching for to be teaching. Because the law does not work in your anus. The law does not work in your stomach. The law certainly does not work in your mouth. The law works within the jurisdiction of Ghana. Who need to me? I want to me kochi who take. That's now food soldier now confront that down. And the other kochi and oh evidence. Opuni case, you starting opuni case. 8 years the term opuni case now. Opuni case, you starting opuni case now. Opuni akoye one and opuni akoye fertilizer. 8 years was show down. Oh, the old guy say, yeah, you look like kochi. Kochi moving now that's all kochi. NDC winning this weekend there 1 week. Oh, you cannot catch anybody foco unless you have a proper law. Now if you want to our money you cry no lawyers. A fancy lawyers. Kochi. Would you owe to me a corner kochi? So if you can go and go kochi. Master me say, man who BP. Don't give yourself blood pressure. Ghana politics. Yes, America politics. They say one we winning. NDC and MPP befa a game of chess. O call Missy Bronya party NDC for being NPP for the was here. But yes, I'm moving and Palamu near my baby. Serious. Party Coco, a year present, some party bones. I mean, the video me idea now. They are the chief chilling boys. No more to no more later. Dream, the men dream on a dream and go for honey idea. Obian to meet you, Obi, Miss Opuni case. You didn't call 80th cobra. One can you jail. Finance boys here, boss in and don't go a video. Any other contact, I don't own the actual money jail. Ozzy actual. Opening case 80th, or you brother riches. You cannot find the evidence. Also, opening up opening we have like that. Bring the evidence to court. What evidence number 80th? That's so 10 years back. No, nothing. When people are lying to you, we have actually NDC main focus, and I see what President Mahama wants to do. His main focus is to make sure that he leaves the legacy. Oh, just legacy. Or in fact, students will come and read about him. That is what he wants to do. What tell you that if you are double salary? It's true. First, NPP for NDC why the double salary? Why not to be prosecuting under double salary? Why am to be prosecuting under nobody? Some might no, just zero. Finito, nobody. They couldn't prosecute even someone cry under it. Also, be a double salary. Why to me? Evidence near they can't say more court. Food soldiers and young money or court. It be evidence with the use for court. You not be talk. You not be just day with they make for court. Court to draw on me to charge sheet. What the charge sheet don't say? What is the offense? I will charge in the What are the ingredients of the offense? Where is the evidence to support the ingredients in that offense? And you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. Who did he attempt to that kingdom come? Nobody go see him. You know go jail anybody in Poppy. You have to have evidence. Why not evidence here? And obviously a chief justice. And you say no. Obviously you change the constitution. Man cannot change the constitution like that too. Yeah, President Ron is more than a constitution to her. And rules and regulations, terms and conditions apply. Into your terms and conditions here, dear. When you say want to be changing country, there are rules and regulations from our I'll bet me I ain't sorry, Keke. Won't budget for President Mahama. No, but there are priorities. Here, and Sunny Fata. Here, and they say he will make sure he leaves a legacy. He will make sure that near me here can see review. Mama is smart. This is what shows the difference between Mahama, President Mahama elect. Any food soldiers now, I didn't know what form, I didn't know coins, one drink. That's why Mahama did a 120-day plan about. Or say, and you hear any more John. No, his main priority is to fix Ghana and deliver something. Well, who corner on Betty as here? Well, who corner Ghanaians will have something. Say Mahama time and a year with. He said, President Kufuor time, school feeding. President Kufuor time and health insurance. That is the legacy Mahama wants to leave. Airport, Terminal 3, that is what he wants to leave. Mahama time way, Mahama. That is the legacy. Who got you a bit? You see the wheels of justice grind slowly. The wheels of justice are some quarter. You must have all those evidence. They know Mahama priorities are. Or see the more than that is why NDC Bonaya Ward said before Bekoi more sense and contract. I want to go for budget for them because you cannot tie us down. So what I say? It is this issue that was raised by some George money and the NPP for military himself Fosu or some military recruitment. What say Fatima Abubakar so they had the clearance that to do it. And time with that is why they are doing it. Some of those things, so you'll be when deep politics my reporting about politics. And see that I have President Kufuor. And Tachika party, not Tachika for what I'm so hoko, mean pepper, would you have to maybe a party then I'm a pay. President Kufuor and I approval for a year president. Salary single spine salary structure. We are two baby wounds in 2008. And so these things follow normal trajectory. 2016 normal appointment. I think auditor general normally at the day, and these are normal things that happen. But I think that a see, I am a chichri abana urban. For instance, you could a single spine salary structure. NDC President Mills had a problem. Say, you know who seek a work office. And it's all what you say, a single spine. Near Banner since he can't one year of funny. The same thing NDC will raise the red flag this year. What you say? And he says, see, as a channel now. That's the only BBI or betting. The question is that Obama Sikeni will debate your contractor worker. Obama will increase government pay because don't forget already, Ghana economy no egu is because Abani the biggest employer compared to other countries. Other countries now come private companies and Ghana and most African countries over here now buying any power workers. It's Busumi BIA from 11 years the idea no. What is here? Do now the salary and NASA. Now see a copper bossian, and the better petrol, your copper bossian, and the better car coin, your copper bossian, and the better key infrastructure. That is why NDC has a problem. So I want to know answer. Because Obianim say incorporate wealth. And Prof. One say Prof. only more about leadership. He will give us more education that incorporate wealth, you know. The key thing, and he said, acting. So who opposition there, acting. You don't take long-term decisions. And in the papa was a true convention between was say, so I buy no quad. Don't make strategic decision that you say I buy no over. Because I buy no chain. It's as much as I plan that whole. A plan that our cranas are scanning in a triaka, would be scanning in a way. I buy the back now talk of fiscal way. Now was NDC bar. Mahama chasing I was all Cobobusian. So what I say, or Cobobusian or Cobobusian. None in your public debt that they say, 600 plus, you know. Now was a bit Sabekan. And what would be the justification? Tina Ben Biaba no about Ponibi or about a Bosiani Biakan. We must budget young tree about settle the issues. They say, I think that sometimes food soldiers now, so I was saying, Mama Gini, food soldiers, Mama Gini, so that you can address issues critically. And you say, the BI be like, it does not solve any problem. It won't change anything. It won't change the key facts, no. Which is that I was seeing Mahama no govern ye. In fact, Mahama of Kobole. Ghana, or see, Range Hospital phase 2. Say anybody. Sanka Range Hospital phase 2 no bole as a copy. But it's in Accra. Serving the people of Accra, me boy. Because Ghana for Nesika. Pay market, he say, see, Mahama Chromo bole. So it's incumbent on a band that. So be winning no better or you're president for all. Because of the attacks can be. Never sit down and call water reading your catching of as a mocrama and humanity and you're voting. That's why we all attack them. And yet, because you know, taxes, the Ottoman 1 to a million, Obia COVID levy room, Obia e levy room, Obia income tax room, yet you know, you see, can you get your minor? And you'll be can't down and say, oh, shut up over there. You can't talk about Ghana. Now, go tax in Guania, dear Ghana. Now, who's sick of crying? Who's sick of saying? Busa Prof, no me, I do a school fees, ya can see a broche, Ghana, businesses near there. Go and ask them taxes to income tax back. You get 20% of your salary income tax, boom. Oh, quite I hear. Oh, quite I hear. But you have the audacity, the impudence, the effrontery to tell Obi say don't talk about Ghana. Obi say don't talk about Mahama. Don't talk about what about them? Oh yeah, and I want to be. Oh, go see can you get Ghana? Ghana, Obenya toilet rosika. Ghana, Obenya toilet rosika. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry has the right to speak about Ghana. On Tiasia, transform and or Kole Lagoon or Pono or Bratemakra, who bet me up a tom no shipo. Who bet me up to a tom no shipo. Until they have strategic things, say the NDC can. These are critical issues that they must focus on. But my member of your market video nature no kase. NDC for Chinchima Monsa, I need your seat in the from them. And I'm saying, who kosa? If you sleep on the job, open it there. Obey you, Sulia. We keep an out in a go post more. Obey you, Sulia.
And my good self were there as representatives from the party's headquarters. On that day, that was a Thursday, last week Thursday, we had 4 constituencies: Fantiakwa North, Akotia, Suhum, and Nsawam Adwejiri. The first collation to be completed for the day was Fantiakwa North. When we got that done, we came to Akwitia, which we also successfully completed, and it was declared. Then it was left with Nsawam, Adwejiri, and Suhum. Both were being done. Now, for Suhum, there was another go slow. The NDC at every stage tried to disrupt. Eventually, they rejected six polling station results, and we accepted that if they've rejected, they don't want it to be part, that is fine, because it was still giving us a win of over 1,500. Then they tried to use an independent candidate agent to frustrate the process. In fact, eventually, the NDC leaders who came there, led by the famous Alfred Woyome, told me and Honorable Obiamwa that they want to negotiate for us to allow the declaration of Suhum, and that their foot soldiers were amassing outside, and that if all 4 constituencies are declared for us, they will kill them. Very sad. Eventually, when we said no, we have to continue with the process, and we completed the Suhum process where Suhum was declared, they tried another go slow on Nsawam Adwejiri. Each one of them that came said, oh, you say, I'm not on pre-winning. Where does this happen? Eventually, when the EC official decided to continue the process, the NDC, led by Alfred Woyome, came into the collation center and said that, okay, their computer was not working, so we should give them 2 hours to charge their battery. As at 1 a.m., when they had gotten 3 hours to charge the so-called battery of the laptop, they said they were tired. Meanwhile, their candidate walked in. The candidate for Nsawam Adwejiri walked in. And we said, okay, if you are tired, the candidate himself was there. Meanwhile, Honorable Anodampre had been there the whole day. What next? The EC official, after another 1 hour of unnecessary disruption, he said he was tired, he was feeling sleepy, and that we should do it at 6 a.m.
At the end of the day, the say, Masa Oda, always a miss. When you say, I can say about 2024, it will be dominated by ways and means. Ways and means, don't know. What the opponent obey us? No, they use Sulia. Obiandoka, Obiandoka, obey, I didn't correct amount. What the obey us? We collation, young collati. Every before my NDC vote be 2016 almost a year movie. Tip man. If you sleep, the tip man will tip you. But they tip you simple. Now only taxes on the bell, I got no be what taxes on the bell, I got there. Why you cry? Yeah.
We are here to firstly.
So and then President Mahama share as well from Pentecost. So that's Pentecost Penny. Chairman of that Pentecost, sorry, I know. So President Mahama has already kickstarted his engagement near soliciting ideas and feedback from all groups before Obeba Power. So let me just play you that video.
Thank the Almighty God for what He has done for Mother Ghana, the peace we are enjoying after a major election. I think that it surprises many a nation, and we want to thank God for that. It is an answer to our prayer. We actually prayed into this election, and what the Lord has done, we are glad. We want to rejoice together with you, and also to also congratulate you for the decisive victory that you shot together with the NDC. You have done very well. We want to say congratulations, sir, for this victory. And also we are here to assure you that the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council will continue to pray for you, and then we'll also make ourselves available to support your presidency.
One of the early things that I think I want to do is, one, to begin again the process that was started by Professor Tamils in respect of the constitutional review. It stalled at a certain point, and for the last 8 years we haven't moved it anywhere. I think that the time has come for us to look at our constitution again. It has served us well, and I still believe it's one of the best constitutions any African country can have. But after using it for several years, we realized that there are a few parts that we need to tweak so that it can serve us for even further generations to come. Okay. And so one of the things that I intend to do is to hold a national validation conference where we would bring all stakeholders in a form of consultative assembly. The legal people will know how to phrase it so that we can move it forward. Now what we want to do is to bring the constitutional review report back to this validation conference. There might be things that we flagged that we wanted to amend that might not be necessary again this time. And then by the new things that we didn't really take notice of, that will become important for us to include in the review. I mean, for instance, if you take the impasse between Parliament and the judiciary, nobody anticipated that a situation like this would arise. But once it's arisen, we must clearly state what the mandate of the Speaker is, so that it's unambiguous, so that nobody has to go to the Supreme Court.
It's President Mahama, they are all canon. I think one of the things he's talking about, the Pentecostal and a council for no more because he's won the election, said they all canon. I mean, everybody wants to associate with the winner. And one of the things that NDC has to be careful about, what we need, be the number for the people who didn't even support you, crowd, the Obia the Peta crowd, and send NDC and take care of what to say. The Omode a good word, no. I say, oh, you can't, you know, the Oboboa, Azar for BRB position, contract. And yeah, that's what people are showing their faces. Well, maybe in 8 years, baby. Apart from the court case, they may well be a madam for a mini papa, intimidating work. But just for example, because what is a metal will be that. By me, Obia, so I NDC finance, I was behind the scenes. So why are you showing your face now? Especially when you say, okay, sir. Oh, the bar NDC Benyasem. Why are you even showing your face now? What I say, but about what you winnie ya. No be adding who be Jim or Pekakra be Tafri. And that's why everybody has to be careful. Of course, NDC and also careful party. I like the way President Mahama did Esgachan, but now let Prof comment about that because I know leadership professor watch up to the top level or chair leadership. Say take him from Prof. Samuel's honor because constitutional review, Prof. Samuel's started. Yes, spending sikapa on it. But after a not at Yakoda, but problem no akwa good evening.
Major bro, if you are not saying,
I do my about also.
Me ho chain.
Great. And mommy says elections. So, like, what do you think happened?
Niama be brain this year. Medical chair were here for we are suffering na mabo mabaso Ghana media mo ya de. I'm saying somehow can for the past 30 minutes, can say me di bika ho because why educate a tier 4 pa ba yes or mo na aya omo ntiase omo politics mu awo Ghana no ye nyina na ekọ school together. In fact, na bi wa NDC and omo ba NPP and e bi nso wa NPP na omo ba NDC because ye wo school na branch champion na manfo ni se no NDC ni o.
Oh really?
Yes. Enti ye school school together. But Boama will lose ya na ya or ye mate. Our University of Cape Coast no bedi kufuachi. Ye na ye roommates and then now for ya two power together and ye nim ya hodada. A drew baby MPP need to make support to NDC ni or baby or contested. NDC needs to make support to MPP ni baby or contested because ye na for dada. It is so no no be war a kotoko no be war ha someone yata. A choice keke and obi a team or support to a man and nije. Enti political parties enema mienu party we person obeso moman no na mo philosophy no mo ideology ni and a party we person obeso moman no enti no uchusu ni awope se bi nyame kra oboy no your choice won interfere.
Exactly.
Interfere in your choice won't mean your job. Oh, watch us say na say ni say nti say oja na your choice afi obejaji wan watch us make us many ewu udi ewu ayebone ma mbokro no obokro no wayebone nti sana nyame boy yen say o choice die nti me say me call NDC no amanfo frem ina kaniba pa professor mua na wo kwa yi atemdidie bebre.
Wow.
Na me gi enwa na me say oh really anya ma me nchire mumwe say yen nyina kogu fa akwa na se party bi lusu na se we na ba nyamwa ye na be de na obi ato aso amana.
Exactly.
Ke mu ebi ko ha na ebi ko ha so o nye prof aka ni sa yete wase ena bro ye toye ene ye nyina yete ho na dwe eba nyema bim ewo NPP for so ohwe a kofo be hand over no oye mistake na kofo poster child e ya lanche matin enti kofo de alan be ye Ghana ambassador to US no no de ne free ho ba be ye Minister of Trade and Industry and ye de Ghana projects nyina starch production and even distance learning nyina na shalan ase about 60% of kofo policies nyina na free alan ho na eba because no person or marketing no
exactly
take over why because we a leader utimi mentor will be a friend succession plan say krachi onipa obesima nan a obetimi atwa na meye no so but ohun Akufo-Addo there were times and even cabinet meeting na ne yet ni say Akufo-Addo timi didi ata na wafa ne bag na wasori ko
under President Akufo.
yes enti so me a leader na say we me cabinet yi na utimi kan ya pa kire me na wasori ko a say be me hand over me de be ma o me nya ni sa enti Akufo ye na dwen say obe mentor eye Alan nanso from 1992 NPP a call Sunyan Congress na nka Akufo-Addo na eso wini o and na duru ho no Akufo baaye with Damboche and Lord Comenum say me team ni moto abama me a me team ni and am for say ne papa why ready dada because all one team ready already and na Akufo wini ye enti mistake Akufo ye and say nko di Atamils ba eye party ni delegates no ode Alan ba party ni delegates ka say David na nado abre enti aduru no so na na ne ebinom hu ni say ne papa abe prime minister pen ni wo fa JB Dankwa enti owo family legacy a obeba be protect enti na mo for no mo push say na nado mra na nado ohwe first round na Akufo na nado ne Atamils score na obi anwini
2008
obi anwini enti runoff no ena uhu say Akufo-Addo nkwane nam Kofo no man support no papa enti Akufo-Addo nam ye ne campaign e ho no forata no ba mu because ne cousin ejina na nim ko pesi ka say yiwa wa na akopɛ funding enti na nado obre unu say okɔ 3 times but oni Atamils dey no lose and second round no Atamils round of no each no just 40,000 votes enti 0.04% or the twa a hona nado pesa or court and Akufo kasa media me hand over enti me hand over there na yaubi e wona nado mu
okay until he was bitter from Sadia na Akufo supporting the court
he was bitter but the president no one to me am find bitterness in anko Kofo so only rather call Alan Chamatin
Alan so
enti obi a wo NPP mu a ye be ka che na na se wo ye Alan no na wa be ye ne tamfo wabe vindictive into position here Maubi. It happened to Patrick Yabua.
Any on kwa could you manage my money these Alan boys in your side?
It happened to Patrick Bom, it happened to Asibe, it happened to another Brenum, Omunina, Castle Alan Quandia Winyashi.
Unya position.
Alan so ye mistake because of where cabinet minister, none 2 deputies, you know. I him cry any Bethy. Are you close to Nanado? Everything I want minister report to Manado. Yes, and Alan should have been smart to say, Mefa and Crawford, because there are many agencies at the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and to the Mep pushing in Crawford, Biamo Munumaye.
Now they are building the legs and
because Ube here, Sika, here support. But Obichi say a Sifua Vincent, Otafo, Uncle, yeah, many Omunaya programs, and Jasma Meka and the Assem, Andy was really poison, or catch me. Enti ye the Sifua call Alan her officer uncle any spokesperson 7 months okwa adwuma da bia na Alan kasa ne ho da
wow
ena napo ebe fa no call Ministry of Education say bra okwa ye pa ni bosome ena Alan busa na brand here de ba so make asama wo he na mo so okwo one we say Bawumia campaign na Vincent mi na di Bawumia chi enti niam bebre wa akoso a yenum de omunim say ye neutral people ombeka kire say prof mo na mo betimi aka ba ye ntimi nka enti sasam ba esunu say ni obi aka no obi wo obetwen ama abudwotu e kan say abo adwoso ansa na waka obi won so obeka ni jaso jwa ba NPP mu the way omo conduct campaign no omo fi say ye win awie Enti omo kotenasia and NPP NDC for no had inside information. Oh, you benya 54%. You be say enti ye dia Anochi Joe Anochi group no. Every district, every constituency, omo IT people center omo setting it up. Na no mo nim say NDC for so asset bi am bi nim kura fi UK ni US omo so best independent ones.
Yeah.
Formation independent. Enti afia Electoral Commission ewo code ade be check ba bia to aba no. MPP wo mo de, NDC wo mo de.
Wow.
Abana ye to na ye quality results no. NDC quality wo mo de different. MPP so
collecting it different.
Okay. We yan say Electoral Commission say official om ye man no ebe wi wo mo de. And the question I was asking say I don't aban fa sika no e ma Electoral Commission no enye efficient, na enye fast am yen. Ba mo de sika no abedo mu IT team. And a mode any election team, and a mode shamo de, and NDC funds were promisically or mode. Meanwhile, the Electoral Commission officially, as I said, conduct election man, only resources.
Beyond trustee easy.
The problem is I find no responsibility in some resource because baby and so toy ballot papers in a SAB. Baby high bedroom ink, common ink crano. I'm an illiterate uncle school because I say inky a so thin, say, me see anymore you. Na said you be on school and say inky crana as say a come ye no the team and so the team ha. Now what school a war Electoral Commission doctors. And I'm to mean yes, you mind. And ya was some logistical issues in as I say, fix it. I'm a phone and go craft for a make or to a benino, baby a benchy crop better and we baby or better. Ubejina hosa so common basic things. Obi betu two when young palano. Nankai was security around that our park as soon as better dear. But police if one I say security agency no one who say obi ba as I said no ye no ho no ase or been someone as a bibisha no one between me put Mr. Cratchy me and say bibisha ho a so one Sanyama we moving forward and say yeah but MPP here too relax thinking say woman for complaining adwuma ni ho obi kopa adwuma afia teacher adwuma and I say customer money agent 20,200 million. 20,000. Ni a tongue with Juma. On one party, abasu 8 years where Yajuma. Your company as I did is can be on saying Yajumano. Oh, yes, your mom free senior high school. A Jumani ho as a free senior high school. And your mom wedding as a free senior high school. CD and Torre as a free senior high school. Inflation of food, that you are boy a ding as a free senior high school. And Yama free senior high school. Come on, no pardo, Menkasa. Enti Osha elections now, Vincent na me man just as a case study. Unim say otafo ehono. Voter onya 2020 no. This elections no 2024 no. Olusu 8,500 votes. Wow. Olusu 8,500 votes. Nipa omo anto ama no kwa. Na che say omo alternative some beto ama NDC ni na 8,500 kwa NDC ni dia ho a. Nka NDC we ni your otafo. Enti nkrofo anto aba. So elections day no me chuma ban up Okoforia. I was second on the line. Nyana ye me deni say nyana wodi kan eye SD ya sorry bapening. Amaku pening. SD for kama and me kan say SD for your trouble because the stakes are high. Even on the Sabbath because you to Sabbath bro.
Yeah.
And SDF for your trouble because I have civic responsibility. And SDF for baby better me do no more than me kwa sorrow no more the line so. I'm say kwame ya ba 5 AM ya torchlight ni. Me say my idea. And me trouble ni we na me drive straight.
And you do believe that SDF for not to my NDC?
No, I can't tell, but I'm just yes, sir. Sorry, no. Binu your mind is on the quack trouble because I have civil responsibility. So what your mom as I want to about and the leader be a baby man and cassa. And young papa made you macra and yet side the number near crowd on Koya drink. So what your mom when I was a media men to about ye leaders say, only you wouldn't be. Now we near ye leaders now, man, when ya now be complaining. And me no mo ya dwen sa se omoko to aba but me na mana make from tinkon na me ko nyina na fe na ye bobo tent ni bi enti aba ya sha se 7 no by 10 AM na ba bi wa ya sha se ye to aba
wow
ye ni elections so ni asi atwam ese eto ebon no sia we krom ana de asa enti je se ebi phone light ana se torch light ana se bo obi car na ba so light and the sumba na microphone so wi asa anya ma we. And to make our platform says, Sanya man, as I said, you're prepared towards it because your Electoral Commission inefficiency in the crime no ban. And Africa Krobia and Tokwesi no electoral malpractices.
Okay. And the problem in this case, yeah, collation centers, attention, I see collation centers, yeah, to a baby. Collation a problem. NDC in this case, I find your marking video ya go say NDC for chinchimo months I just sit in be from with this
oni rubia oni nyina so bia senya ye no abato no Ghana for ya de okwa ye wo sheet a obia wo picture and voter ID number wo so me de akere wo hwe na wudin a ba ko beka che say our left side V1 obekọ no na nipa kro picture wo ho na ya kire ama ya kire senya ube vote me mo ye do said the validation for na ye verified enti wo kọ na wo kọto a obia ya we say NPP and then agent or no NDC is agent political parties be agent obi akuta copy of a qualified voters on beto abano enti no dimi jikibo binsa. In fact NDC for outsmart NPP for by the number of polling agents baby what nipa 3 4
NDC agents no 3 or
agent baby what nipa 3 baby what nipa 4 say na be ya o ma we sika say jikoto aduane dia miensa wo ho ana mienu wo ho because yes, I had the NPP DBT on last election, including the strong group.
So they learned the elections from 2016.
They learned from the past. You can't see your person white, no. And from 5 p.m. LND, based on NDC analysis, no, not Dr. Manebuaman are projecting the NDC Benyada 2 hours. So now NDC is so struggle, and this NPP is there by 11 p.m. It means that Joe and Nottingham said they were far advanced in IT, but
they were behind. Yeah.
Because when be America, any UK, NDC for say independently we want to help. And you know, Obia grant a copy. And to me, Mamin can't show Begro because Haruna we need Begro for NDC no or contest what me constituency. I will afford you a new job enough. No Lucia no call Begro.
Okay.
And you Okodru Hona, who saw a popular because Muslims were ho. So Haruna Paredu or Yasanti Kramo. And you Okodru one or contesting, ye real banabie. A returning officer no. And by law no or declare who won based on Yamakoletin and pink sheet in So the only problem is says a mistake in Baswa. As a so the mistake in omutimi correcting of pen, but not where all the mistakes have been corrected with the same pen, with the same signature. That is suspicious. And all can say and say court. Electoral laws and say returning officer and declares will be a winner. And a parade was declared a winner by the returning officer. Then and but ideally, the law says go to court, any high court, or high court, and to go to court, and then the court will determine say yes, I come to be.
Why are you bringing it all the way from Kofodia to Tesano?
To Tesano. But before that, now IGP has sent a press release out. Me be IGP was my personal friend. Sir, because of the when problem now, but I'm the court Tesano, send a police presence a beboa. But by electoral law, you declare say obi a winner. There's not another redeclaration. Just said you lose you and I say make court. Na court determine. But yes, said in the court tesano. I electoral commission head office, but police head office. So na ya kokai biem ni say okay, ya sisa no nti say aparedu anwini biem. Eye NPP ni no I no nadmo, regional coordinator no poku na wawini a. Then NDC people who suggest need regional executives, need constituency executives, you know. I'm on my party.
Yeah, but why is it that even before then, now NDC for no baby so because I've seen almost a circular 5,000 people should be on standby. It's a movie and a movie. Why NDC now using at the same time violence or support? And we've seen videos.
This is psychological.
Using violence. For instance, I electoral commission. Because the argument is the case here in Kokota, then why are they banning the electoral commission?
It is psychological. You see, because NDC came through coup d'etat from the leader and a transition to PNDC to a unity. NDC for share besides a Yezu, a Yeza, a unity in Kambomuno. NDC for two revolution. Revolution has a long way to go. But has come to stay. That is the root.
And that is the West. Has come to stay.
Has come to stay. Cadence may go, cadence may come, but the revolution has come to stay. Revolution has a long way to go, but has come to stay.
Professor, oh boy, so yes, you need to know.
Easy say you better target NDC for say violent. Who's the first now for say NDC for mama go school and for but I didn't for NDC papa. I didn't for NDC papa. Now many for Sakwame now who didn't come on say I almost say we have the men. It got to a time in law school in Legono. Na chachu ne me kwaho ne omomuche law school ni nyina we NDC for. All the law lectures we taught them. Until then, they have the men than us. A strategy. So because violence is the target NDC for easy.
Okay.
Matches and Crawford, even by Umianum cry, I say violence. Mahama is not the president of Ghana yet. He's the president elect. Until 7 January, best one in Akufo-Addo and Bawumia are in government. Any violence, Biano, they are deviants in society. Court. Because a idea and run obuso. But ultimately, Van Kosher NDC phone can say because Obisu bet me fetchy, I abonisa. Yeah. Visa no young question, and as will be born a park where you win a memo say.
Yeah, fine, sir. You say okay.
And watching Crawford on your probua. Everything about law is evidence. Near evidence is say, well, NDC no sir. How do you prove to be a party beneath? So put a party in a card, yes, sir. And a party no your committee or Kobe. And what you do sense or party no. And dry about NPP party no. And then a omoral last year, so I didn't be near you. Ning Crawford or Mofawam, miracles about program with me. Go and Google and check. Sir, he had a banter with Professor Entry. These young guys, I bet me a my dear, not that way no. Yet say you debate BB our media. Say you use substance and the facts. But obe attack Professor Day. Obe attack Alanche Martin. Obe attack Professor Frimpong Boateng. And men so no the banse cratchy. You're careful. Because bisa Dr. Gideon Boakum. I know your boss about me. I know bisa since I don't know the metinamity saying. But we are not Gideon Boakum on show send your metier. Because me as someone your factor, I don't talk about what I don't know. Near no crown, no, I can't. On mine in the Yami, and your political party and the Yami. On mine is send a bay ye, near Quabe ye, near Sube ye, near school bay ye, near hospital ye, near Yami. Because I am a papa or hey, and in Tina ye to cry a baha. You promona say your 24-hour economy. Now a Juma Bakunipa me and say, Yantias says, say ye, Naya Sorano, partner could de traffic, Musa, Juma 8 to 5. They drew and say the traffic you might be roof and I do 11, 12. Now what's not sorry for you, my Juma. Meanwhile, teacher Juma me and son. We're called first shift. So upon 2, back for second the same Juma back for second shift, upon another time, back for third shift. And you be done on the sorry send a brooch ye. Well, passport office your problem. For the lives were not above 5 and upon coffee. There were immigration issues, there were DVLA issues. Into both public works and the private works, you know. A Yanisana, a Juma, a problem, boys in your Juma and your betting quan. And you see a Momoquine, that's a Juma ya. Said the chrono crash betty. Because I won't yet out if you are chronobefia, I won't yet show, my boy. Yama boys here, Jumanye. You provide a Juma, we are.
Also, I'm under Mahama plan for the first 20 days and beyond. Because Juma, okay, Nina also by see a buying so because then I make our intro. No. Abang in Ghana is the biggest employer. Now, so Abang in the year 24-hour economy, they must find the money. Okay, Mahama called BBC interview and say, can you put a cost to it or say there be? So we are heading towards a catastrophic. I wouldn't even say a catastrophic, but the best word is gargantuan investment in 24-hour economy. Can we afford it? But before then, Mami, come be about a federal market or international communities in there. They should help the Electoral Commission. And it's funny to me, say. I mean, they declare no command, Janata community to declare the outstanding seats.
And I'm saying, Oseche Mensah handled that majority leader very, very efficiently. Afenyo has made a lot of mistakes. Don't forget, say, Alban, and I know Abba Mbabin very well. Oh, yeah, astute lawyer. And our core parliament is so for a long time, you know, play games with these guys. He's playing games with them because now we have a business committee chair, our parliament. One of the agenda bar. Now your core parliament and I say, wow, now be sharing the back door beside and say, you're quite better on left and I better on right. So you're better on left side and I better on majority in the here. Say you're free majority. But go and sit there, bring the agenda we talk about. So the speaker will go and say, well, we form a quorum, but unfortunately, the government business is not there. We don't have any business to discuss. And without an agenda, Parliament cannot sit. So,
by force.
Electoral Commission, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. So, near office, yetching chimney, Fako Court, Ghana Court, we know, still, no problem. So, Yam also benefit of the doubt. Say, the assembly court, you see within 21 days. That's what the electoral law says.
Okay.
Within 21 days, you two abandon say on to Masia. Fako court. Say court to be to me.
Possible say. Meaning some the Fourth Republic East Legon. There was a case. I was also going those days. No, I check. Now, Papa Afredamu.
Yes.
Yeah, he was a candidate. Even for them to overturn, my minister 4 years in the as a court to overturn it.
And
go to court.
That is the problem.
Because of that historical antecedent, not Ghana.
If you are one, how can I say?
Because of the court medication, I don't put the case.
One, how can I say the wheel of justice? You know, a grinding slowly. Yeah, Ghana. Yeah, me problem. A frustration idea. Say, asem kitu ebe court. Court na bra. Opunya semi. Say evidence. Easy. They say you can't oral operation. He almost looting in an abanya ye. I want to go be fear can say my bedroom car, and I'm a bedroom fear because meaning say NPP address na we are the toy evidence were him. If you know what you must for ye dinya sick and boy. And Tisania money dear will continue to use the court until you find a better alternative for resolving this issue. Now I am a court no so yen slow near much yes na integrity people are questioning it because the citizens also have the right to demand accountability. Say, you know, so people will be a sika, and I say, sika wonya no, na katria wonya no, and tally. And he say, Asana Bakota, Esha Mahama ne Ekufuado de Mahama court. When you say over 8 months, Mahama really Ekufuado didn't call court. No,
election petition. Yeah,
over 8 months about sheet. You and I were not there. 8 months. Until Mahama first 1 year, no, you trouble year our court cases. And the last year no see for election ti Mahama Kasanga odisu 2 years pe and onya kwani ye na dwuma so and ti say na oba na so say ye be form constitutional review team what we call the National Validation Conference na ya be hear constitution be feel say ne kwan so if your constitution no abre 32 years no nyama bebre aye dada
must change. Yeah.
America has say the first amendment, the second amendment, the third amendment. You can't amendment no more than the original law no make here because amendment, you know, abe fit the sense of the time here. Here samra no. And your constitution no na boni be nim sa time no. It is a Ghana education system and your listeners say educate you. In fact, sensationalism no jokes na do some me. So
Ghana
ya pagro de you cry you cry pasia bia so ya celebrity na nkrofo di omachi na o ma roro mo ho no mo kasa didi atem na obekọ no afia eno no 170,000 views you know 20,000 views and so my professor B and I said doctor B and talking about your soil your assassin yes no yes galamsey say tutu form no it will take 300 years and assassin restore back to the normal position. But all my research and can say, Obianti Professor my research, no who's a nipa 5 will be like, not 2 comments. I know crowd just saying, I wadum. But seven Quasiade, Quasiade, Quasafo, my you are more said or more and then Uncle Fope. And to young mindful, say, yeah, serious. Now you see, I grab away and this and I say, yes, yeah. Sana beba because nyama bebre wa wotia enya nokre enya sa wotie bi da se brawa na wa ma okra so enti nya fenyo mark aba eka no onim nokre no oye lawyer mimi fi University of Cape na afi na fenyo mark wa ba first year so onim nokre no onim no credit say you go to court and within 21 days because electoral officer returning officer na declare say a parade we win ya na fe yakọ test na akọ count ni yesi we lose a ono won ti ase nti obekọ court and then yaji eyi fantiakwa yaji eyi akotia yaji suhum. So the question comes to the regional executive of NDC. I didn't know mama yaji didn't hear film sem nti I not don pray the and declare. So NDC had to put injunction on it.
Okay.
Injunction on it. Say, and you must stop on your fanco court. Declare because I said, we need that they declare. No.
But is NDC also not taking advantage of the situation? Are they one year majority that? It's clear that this election, one NPP just said, what we need to be able 276 when you are
na NPP, NDC boss, John Mahama, you know, Oko market ya, it's 24/7, no, a roadside, emergency na why you John Mahama, baby, and I do an improvement and no NPP na nombo sisifia. Or Sisifia Nivi, into Sisifia Obono, and on 1 year parliament Sisifia.
Oh,
because MPP and Chanyon Bia a year, and this Namo John Mahama almost Bobia counter. So, and the messaging was a problem. Baumia or ya dear, he was campaigning, minimum microphone on me call Baumia or Tibasim. He worked so hard, but there were division in the party and said, Mumma near her. So, excuse me. NPP so much.
I said, okay, person will repeat it because it makes so much sense to me, you know, because it's true. Say 2000, no, not 2000, 2008, because they had a song.
Yes.
For 2000. Okay, some of the radicals.
Yes. Yabokwana usumebwa.
That was so, it was so emotional. President Kufuor had his own campaign. Okay, future leaders. No, I know your pops are mills, but President Kufuor had a campaign song.
Yes.
Modern Kolano, J. Kufuor. Those two things.
Actually, catch me send north. No, confirm Krano Musu Kufuor.
And in 2008, Professor Mills, he had this future leaders. Mama, Memo Canyon, who to meet you and the system. So we had a message for Atamils in 2008. Fast forward 2016, Nanado had a song. We know. And now in 2024, NPP didn't have a song.
No.
They didn't have any proper.
No.
That's a strategic bucket.
Kimpaluta down. Only Kimpaluta and the bar down. Oh, 65 so NPP logo song NPP babe. But which is a na John Mahama obey a free education ye or the Juma beba or Nyama Mahama be nyina wo na sinyum. So I think se ko jump on or try so ye nyum bia maba o but am fa
and that is nothing yet.
As I said beat no ejinam. So we no beat no ni sane yakoye no anko ye. Enti as I said MPP tenase first division no so and I mean Baumia and running mate Napo constituents are not appealing to. He wasn't appealing to the grassroots. He wasn't appealing to the middle class. And even though a doctor, he wasn't also appealing to intellectuals.
Why?
So, Why? Nobody knows. Because maybe the way he conducted himself, what he said from the beginning, you know, well, Emma, he couldn't align himself to any class in Ghana. And also, MPP should look at that.
Did he appeal to Ashanti region? Because then I think one of the reasons on my
he didn't. In fact, by midday, I'm a quote TV3, you know, and Namika said they were asking me, said low turnout, and Namika said it means NDC will win. The voter turnout na yellow, sir, man so quanta quino. So Akwabi a friend contractor be a very popular Ashanti region. A friend will be Joe something.
Adum construction.
Almost Jim Crawford stores a group. Say ye be ye quine. A kwana ya nye ebesine. So enti eduru baabi a na yaw ewo MPP fo mu na NDC fo no ka mo party wo so wo awunya adwuma nye wo awunya wo bebo mo kra me ho bosia se mo se mo pe enti eyaw na eba MPP fo mu eduru
bi a me papa kro ma dance ni amanse o me papa fi two places are dance ni amanse na amanse ho no mfuturo mu na napo koye campaign mfuturo mu e na mo ye final chese It blew my mind. Oh, come on, Chroma. You better swami.
Oh, okay.
Obedi 3 hours. Asana what you
who say I become a yes.
You are a commerce road.
Yes.
So for me, they know boss the any and your contact your quite your contact is here. Prof, Amasia Central code 1 kilometer a video.
So if you are so stronghold omunkwano amount almost 80% of the votes, because it's difficult to win just 3 out of 16 regions now where we nearby. But Ashanti region massively vote to my party no omunya hwe se kakajetia Mahama de besi and yama bebre wa NDC betima boss e ba ha we ni mamu a NPP anya sama omo wo enti omo adwen se okay enya me ntwaba no kra enti sa wo frɛ obi na so wo mi de me koma fuom abato da no Saturday no fro bi so na me come galam se mi kowura mi kobush wo frɛ obi o se mi ko say na che se ye the NPP etwa na fuma enti on ntwaba no man NDC but send NPP adina bro for the past 8 years in Intino, and you're on Twaba no cry. Anytime, anywhere in the world where there's low turnout, our elections, it's just opposition be winning. Because opposition and the idea come and your nibre a Kotwaba. Yeah. Sana Sante in the boy.
Yeah. The come here nibre to Mahama to so bad. Yeah, the come here nibre to simple.
Sir, NPP party ni there na yeah. Make say a week before ye beto abano. Na ba omia wo Kofodia me constituency. Na oba no sisifian bia na omudi asa sisifian na omo chiche take away and omo koe. Manti message bia na omo kase bia ye ba e be say enti nanado sebe o aban mu. Ba omia se oba e-levy obetwam. Bet tax 10% obetwam, emission tax obetwam, COVID levy. Yan kuana COVID-19 yegusu je ho levy. 500 million are buying American and British aband the brands a young fan support here no and no chrome chedi ya yantimi amwa konta my parliament. So enti
akonta do meku inam samtali
na NCC
parliamentary report
yeah NCC ya na say aye wahu aye see one time bi because NCC so an accountant so be na say wo ye na imbalance ya say na say bibia for baby auditors bebam wahu enti nyama bebre koso a scandals bebre koso and people were asking say anya na adu aye nimu ni me ka say mama bi ka chense prof me na me nto aba man MPP da but na adu yo bi a the way am hwe ne papa baby ofi why prime minister pe no for riacha ne senior be lawyer sir yondi kolende nomone esolo wusu nomone ne prempe ayi no and the law train woman ne nkrofo wa bring on the leadership ayi no me pese ye try no more o say for the first time me to abama o say am an ever but me to abama na nado na me force me kunsuma ne to abama ne say ye hwe no be but he's a disaster because nanado ba no and Mamemfa went to work fear your problem power leadership no e gatekeepers omo mo ben ye leaders no omo na ye omo ku omo
yeah
oba hwe na osi obi enya adipapa bi ori ba be bo man no me pese me dia che so oni ho on be ye no corner they show people from leaders no Mahama say sa na bi no ma hya se ye won ho enti say one yes one way yeah where me can say mass it is. I say things as it is because politics, yakwanya so benya civil service a great opportunity to serve your country and yet an opportunity to amass wealth for yourself. And think of what office say be a nipa no obenwa obehu nyansa wo ene nim dia wo na de bebo man ono de ebeyi na firi ho nti omma wo hu no kra na wa be no and sad no edi enya because nkrofo bebre wo a meme wo we ebi free UK ebi free US ba prof you betimi ye ITC aboa internet you betimi the solar ye we aboa people have ideas but the corridors of leadership no omukodru ha leader ye mani hu leader no problem
mani in fact it's so true because Mahama tiakonya so there were people who blocked us Mahama he said Gold House Ibrahim Fie
yes
they won't allow you to meet him
yes
and unless I go through Julius Debra
yes
there's no way they will block you tell me a committee come once in a one when you oh no maybe do get no matter man one no I mean seriously
if you're my idea
what I should say
my idea because your politics me call for the past 2 years me go see idea and niema mesuano you see your country no the devil lives there. Your country no evil to extend say o because ohweye wo suban papa na entina kwakwaza processor ka say your system no emma the right people emeye leaders esan say wo adwen pa na o ma no ho adwen ye no ye won krofo bi wo ho a ono no sika obenya and I'm saying you see on platforms you say NDC ba you will still have some people who want to go to the bush and do galamsey. You have people. Me say me man go school, man no, and then I may bush hobby. Now my compare concession. And I was surprised to know, say, gurus, top people when I'm a fee senka, yen go school, lawyers, ni big doctors. Now Omoka James say prof himself one boys concession almost 2 you ha. So, oh, concession, I'm say, let's say you go school, yes, say you go see. Say ye be say yensuo na God na de tu kom no che na de tu kom na da kom na su kom de wanyewu na be wo na se pa be na we mu but I'm so sika wo
and your selfishness in people are ready to do it
ye krom no na wo obi ti say won to me at the fat chain eyi awa bonten say me chain da me kom $200,000 me watch you 100,000 when people can afford just get ready to eat. And you two abama on West mansions, and I'll be job num. Over baby, I want to meet TV. Share a Kawukudi Junction or Kanda Hono. Don't bother when you now want to meet radio, no want to meet TV. Okonyasikanoi. So, and these are the people who want access to presidents. Like individuals who want any policies, you won't have access to them. And that is our problem.
Okay, Prof, you to NDC. A government now incoming government banning expectations near Adeno. But one of the things I President Mahama can in the video now, my boy, and I say one of the things obey your constitution. But people are afraid to say NDC per super majority in parliament because of also change the constitution. Mahama tina so 8 years instead of 4 years. Because we're serving 4 years that until be a junimuno. Because the law has not been tested. Once they can continue the court. I'm a Supreme Court threw the case out. I think maybe the Supreme Court should have entertained a suit, because they say we are saddled with that very situation where Mahama did 4 years, 4 years, when we're 8 years, he's entitled to another term, but and to also like we've seen under Fourth Republic.
But
before we answer that question, I'm going to video way. NPP chairman, I say still I blame them everywhere, but I don't know. Even after 1 week, the loss is still fresh. I can't sign an MPP for to me or more body move and you more bones must actually into the young koda. But and I see that because of that desperation, Mahama and so before starting person boxing man.
Let me quickly answer now. Obi say me say Mahama Nana do a disaster. I should come again. So be leader. Ni obe true ye no. One thing you can improve upon it. So, and then I'm beginning to make us another way, because send ya kufu jano, ne send ya tamos and mujano. In fact, kufu free one na share a year. Even the last election from 167 members of parliament and NDC bar 137 plus one, a Siama and a bear 138. Our year majority. From that to less than 80 now, like less than 90. And already NDC and 1/3. Now, me person me education kitu ebu ha. Your constitution ni say
2/3 and now 1/3.
2/3 na make because 184 out of 276 now benya 2/3. And this was 188 to say. And already know they have passed the 2/3. And Ombetimia pass a lot of government business. By the constitution, the good thing they say that part of extending of the president, the mandate of the president, I entrenched. Article 66. I entrenched. Entrenched means just a year referendum, the whole
referendum.
Yes or no. I mean, say yes or no, the whole country, it will not pass. And
well, it can pass, Prof. It can pass. When the NDC is enjoying the kind of goodwill It is
well,
enjoying.
I don't think that is a tangent Mahama will go. But I also want to say the Supreme Court, you know, I am consistent. Am I? If you have a problem, or mine, you have a problem, and microphone you too emotional. Nyama forces me in the way we are say.
But the Supreme Court, the Alpha Kenkrachi case here, he was approaching the Supreme Court to interpret it. And he do amendments that will even require referendum. He said, interpret it for me, say, limitation, you know, to 2 terms, you know, in the Constitution, you know, should it run consecutively, or if there's a truncation of that 2 term now, the president is entitled to another 2 term, which is isolated. So interpretation is which I know the Supreme Court now original jurisdiction to interpret.
So say I didn't think the Supreme Court and responded the same. Now eba LGBTQ plus there quickly. Supreme Court became once and never vacant seats. Quickly Supreme Court be where you, so it's a matter of priority.
But no, I think in it was technicality being on the way. No, say but Supreme Court now papers no. It be anya correct on the technicalities.
Yeah, but your ordinary citizen and no here interpretation say Mahama wedi 4 years. Until say about 4 years, you know, obeti 4 years in Etragu. Until obeti me ako 8. And now say oko 4 equals so 4 back no kan no so na say 8 ana. Where ya dia ya da ho sore ho. And one say ye ka bom ne ya petia pa oni aka say da bi say na tie. Na nka atu atwa. But so obetwen ya hwe boko conflict ne mi ko kan amasa microphone threaten me life. Oshe Supreme Court. Yes. Messi Makosua nyama bebre we krom, and I enjoy it because young crofo here education. Osha senior tienwa Supreme Court a rule before in 1957 no say okay, it's say about 30 pages and 40 pages, you know, about comprehensive way of ruling, you know, about 3 lines. And I've been discussing this with Martin Pebu, who is also a very good friend. We talk almost every day. Say the way I'm talking about 3 lines is like yeah, who problem, you know. So it is not soft, it is hanging in there. So until you hear run to work, because I'm run work here, there will be peace. So
and people don't need to come back to the court. If people don't need to come back to the court
issue because you could witness on you overload. Wasting yes and you could way almost so you finding answer or my worry. So until no for why do you fight? So, and kill yourself on who should be your warlord. But then they explain to me, say, in the north, no bua or your hene, but your assassins are different.
Yeah.
And Niamano,
I say, I cry, Ulomo for in charge of assassin. And your hene, like a camel, where a Konyani is 2 lands, but Uba cry, and Konyani a family lands.
Yes.
Ulomono, or not of shit and assassin, so you know. By a assassin, Oko Nova, a more Tindana. Tindana to say Ulomo, no, assassin. They are even more powerful than Oheno.
Yes.
So, who nim structure non system, no, to say to
you see, one thing is a JFK, NPP, a secretary, Gary Macron, NPP lawyer, Omunina were classmates. So, when we talk about this, we talk. Yes, changing ideas. My problem is a grassroots. You know, I have 2 forces in the world. If you explain, you emotions and your knowledge. Only 2 powerful forces in the world. And to assemble, obey me the emotions I can, and now so obey me the knowledge and so I can. Unfortunately, no, you're part of the world. And most people want to use the emotional part, you know, so because I am a party ni into say I'm quite you crana as semi supported. But you're critical friends. You send your Japan here from the beginning. And some NPP for a children in Segunechi. Because after primaries, you know, they needed him to come back on board. And on Alan, so no more need, you know. Ken agreed on principle, so in a pobeba. But Alan decided, say, on yet, so say Alan call back, say Alan call back, and can let Alan over chance. Because when you know free party no maybe, I was surprised. Say Alan was complaining. Say Kufo a support to Baumia. Of course, who need party in being. Kufo. So when you talk about MPP, you want to mean you know free because we're very pressing on the ticket of that party. And so you want to mean Baumia home campaign now.
They say Alan has a chance.
Alan, they saw retire from politics. Only chance to be him because 30,000 votes there. You see. Inti Ashanti region amount for Uncle Twabano, we were thinking some Bekwa Twama Alan as a protest vote. But Cheddar crash, Cheddar ya Obama and Cheddar Benya 84,000 votes. Cheddar edited 84,000 votes. Enti me Madam for Kofi Kurante enya 3,000, CPP nya 21,000. Ohwe nipa 10 no ano mo kan NPP because e kredon ko de nyame fa ne kransie ye ofri mu. Nti e ka 12 we NPP ni NDC free mu a nipa 10 na aka no votes no kaboma enu 230,000 votes na e rejected ballot no. Nti mesre say no all the other parties no form coalition party. If we need a third force, all the remaining 10 no form coalition party. Now we targeted the next 20 years in the because political party two sides of persuasion. A term opposition a man for you tired of we are open campaign crowd will come back to you. Well, and say here third force there nipa na ya be hu say nipa 10 na ka ho no omo nyina form coalition a party na fe omo nhase and form and come no one per constituents because when team form political party only one constituency crowd win one MP Well, independent candidates win na political party a one form no be any will win one seat in parliament because you ma go na see
exactly.
And at least Florida no almost say ho. So you recognize that political party. And these individuals no almost say be a microma bifino. A ho no met me and making sure say obi be contestant a ho enya. Well, na fe mo nya baby nyina so na ho abeya mo headquarters na mo bode ti say na abuzia ye ka wenchi a ye ni say ho na abuzi. You need that constituency for a political party. But all these 10 political parties no not even a single constituency in obi winning as MP or and I think that is not good enough.
Yeah, it's not good for the future of your democracy now. No problem. I mean, video no so na fe yembra back na.
Oba baby to say domain kwabenya also so NDC for no to try some any basa call ho no. Omanti me amboa ma collation na ese koso odomain kwabenya eno so ankoso ewo ho. Oba baby to say for north constituency a o kan ye pinsita na ewo nyina aboma ye candidate eye Nanajiman Eric Nanajiman Prempe enya 20,353 as against NDC candidate we now 20,232 to shoma vote difference no 121 vote difference. Oba be able to say Obuasi is NPP near dim kunimo ho vote NPP candidate now 18,558 as against NDC candidate we now 18,539. And no electoral commission will be no quality results na we. Now so NDC for macho man for to try some ho e share electoral commission your candidate say results NPP enya no yen fa NPP dey NDC yen fa NDC dey NPP ah mo dey say kan to esi so say obewu na so be parliament dey na ope and omo tintin your candidate nsa we are no free afa north south west and so your candidate or we share votes are na 16,058 and then this candidate now 16,000 your candidate now 16,058 and then this candidate now 15,372 and we share vote margin the BTN this now 686 votes and so NDC for 2 transactions or mama electoral commission and quality results name we
Prof, trust what I say because I'm even surprised by General Secretary. But these are areas Obuasi. There's no reason why I was NDC in the range of 18,000, NPP 18,000.
Yes.
I don't see here can know.
Yes.
These are areas in NPP. There should be wide margin.
Yes.
It is already the fact NDC Kranam 18. No quite say well. Don't even complain.
Justin Kodia.
These are your strongholds.
Justin Kodia Okatechie. You see, Katechi Opoku R4. Yeah, be a manager Mokake. Your platforms, no. You found so when this and answer MPP. Near here, say, we near because from PV or Benum to a whole in Omina Okatechie for Justice Red Dunia, Opoku R4 year politicians. And your platform, you know, your cassette. So when this your MPP near here, say, obey your Jumani ye, and machine ye school anymore. And say yatoto aba na yesi we nya say if you political party and a beka ho asem your security forces nti no moto aba early enti security forces no moto aba early no ba bia ni wa police station bia ni wa bakwa wo police officer and say immigration officer and say custom officer and say fire officer every polling station had these security forces there. I don't know, one reporting and the returning officers report. Oman report say, yeah, the second Kujina will be who say any true, any titrasem say, Upe and as a member of parliament. Obia Onimi Bianim say, another pray. Was my best friend for a long time. Meaning they call nooks, meaning they call Obianim. And I always said, they say, you are fighting the battle of your life. Kwabrani nyadin, nani nyamre say, Obama will be a city say, or be a kofasikan, say, because on obit me actually can be. So, nani nyamre, like I said,
no, but bro, that also means Uncle Swana because I think
that security person, I don't know, and you man no. What is the meaning of security? The two man is so very reported because I saw be actually report to the Electoral Commission. The returning officer agency you'll be actually report to say, okay, send you see any, and then the Electoral Commission would decide what to do near the court police station, near the court. Many penny say.
But what if there's a report? What if they filed a report? So many it's in a press conference.
I report here the police station. Political party never hear one announcement. Start the process.
Okay.
And here I didn't call police station now. Police if one will give us the police are very efficient. In fact, at the new phones who police more. And you some will choose to work. In fact, I like what Dampare is doing. In fact, so about Domi say Domi. Yeah, we whole go station. Police for motor ni cars nyina obi abegini fuel anopa. Normal they call. There will be a police cars nyina ya washing up by police for themselves. There will be a police for mechanics. Almost face police cars nyina near you. Can I know?
Your point is a legitimate complaint that the police would have dealt with.
The police report. Then
they think they would have dealt with it.
No, be chasing kanya. Illegal against electoral processes. And your political party in the back.
NDC supporters now we've seen it, but just very few people in actual
there were report from IGP. Report from IGP. Now they have 126 people.
Okay, that's good.
126 people are actually from all these areas. And Oma update. In fact, a friend is saying, North, Dana Yabo Bitu na me TV so TV3 live. Yankala was why your boy nipani to nano. And if 5 minutes and a police back every report to buy say we are on top of the game, Yachini pa 4. And the police if no majuma. And what I said then is say political parties, almost stop to say there be almost creative problem police for.
Okay.
Because I didn't know no process wo obi achese no obi achitua illegal. Report to the police and let the police they be na mobile media na we have a press conference abana here to no member Kraboja bekasa na samija mfia bekasa as a media na moya there, but everything should be on the ground na munya de bia na obi tumrika ko media ko kasa no because you solve problem no baby see eh so what you solve no baby see eh na nye media space in the solve problem.
Prof yanko NDC there no so but obi see me can you say o police can see to net and oh, yeah, say, Christian Alam, Kruda than a Pasalam. So I know where you're from. Why? Mama go for everybody in Mesus will be born into that. Christian Alam, Kruda. Yes, I don't know. Can you?
I don't know problem. What them everyone's a women in as well.
I'm saying, I'm a problem on the bill. If he was able to meet the bail conditions, I buy him. I
mean, police station, crab, I'm call police station. I remember myself. Police station.
Such a region as your stronghold. Go to Kumasi before this election. Kobusa na do down kwaku for say. Kumasi na kasa na ye the regional capital. I hold you almost stronghold. A dear pan why physical project with the exception of judges' quarters. What is the physical project? A visionary project. I may do many bits you on cabin say. Nana do down kwaku father has wept with an equality as a president. But he's not a good leader. Regina, a team of 1.79 million. About to your very election. So, members of parliament to watch Santa Region. Or Bukoto or Mr. Oforia 10 development. But I'll catch you. But Mr. Oforia 10 development. But I'll catch you. But Mr. Oforia 10 development. But I'll catch you. But Mr. Oforia 10 development. But I'll catch you. But Mr. Oforia 10 development. But I'll catch you. But Mr. Oforia 10 development. But I'll catch you. But Mr. Oforia 10 development. But I'll catch you. But Mr. Oforia 10 development. But I'll catch you. But Mr. Oforia 10 development. But I'll catch you. But Mr. Oforia 10 development. But I'll catch you. But Mr. Oforia 10 development. But I'll catch you. But Mr. Oforia 10 development. But I'll catch you. But Mr. Oforia 10 development. But I'll catch you. But Mr. Oforia 10 development. But I'll catch you. But Mr. O Go to Kumasi today. Project be a jump project. A work Kumasi Biano. President Mahama has an imprint. I don't make a record. Remember?
Yeah.
He has an imprint. Good. Overtake overpass. Make a 1 year fatality rate statistics. Oh, make a more be a marine contact. Take fatality rates. Go to Tech Hospital and ask. Say before you ever you overpass, not fatality rate or say. Mahama and Bayer have a overpass. The what? The overpass now. Hello, FM1. I get President Mahama. The what? Kejetia market. President Mahama has an imprint. Central market here, BC. President Mahama has an imprint. Kumasi Airport started by President Mahama. After the hospital, before budget or capture budget, a 2009 budget. Our main team, Ama Bemu, and the Donna President Mills, Uvalupie. President Mahama buy those hospitals no start here. After the military hospital, started by President Mahama.
I say it's not operational now.
Say one hospital, regional hospital, started by President Mahama. What else again?
It's not all kinds of say.
Make up because he say, woman need a shanty with you for the year. Adiama akele because listen, this region here maybe body now. NPP can lose, but if Ashanti region too massively for new patriotic party, it can create difference.
Okay.
I was reading Uncle Benefsin newspaper a day before yesterday. Was it from 2020 to 2024? NPP lose 1.2 million votes in Ashanti region.
Amazing.
It's in your website. Here University of Wasi campus, and you find NDC. The first dual carriage from Tech Ecosi Asafo Market, President Wallace. President Kufuor came to work. Kumasi Sports Stadium, the refurbish of Kumasi Polytechnic.
The Sofolane.
Sofolane interchange, Asokwai interchange. Then you talk about G. Confanochi.
Roundabout.
No, the Confanochi, accident, That's a President Kufuor's project.
Yeah,
and I'm going to make it.
Some roundabout.
So yeah, the amount of honor you fake. Yeah, Kumasi because they need it. The traffic is hectic. Oh, free, car too free. Asafo Market. Obenya no what it group. For about 7 kilometers. We need interchange our Raga Junction. President Kufuor Alliance Française sign a contract. I obey your friend say interchange. A 2 years sign interchange now. No about Koyebu or Raga Junction. Timber Gardens, baby on my Asqua interchange. Nobody at Twaswa the cost the so when you two and Raga for no more we need a place for them. So President Kufuor went back to the Alliance Française people say that please we need to relocate these people. And to almost share the architectural diagram. Almost say, almost me say yes, Sikabi and Fanya. It needs you close to Araga Junction, and interchange. So it has been with that since.
Okay.
Montinian, Jamaica, what I say. The 2 interchanges are Swamene Araga Junction, the Romeo Somber. Sino Hydro, just by making you, Sino Hydro deal. Ayakofaba. Or Mati Wusika set aside to do these 2 interchanges. Mr. Furiata say, when you fund a moment koyansa, when you fund the bidder baby or the back for 3 good years when Timida, the Wisa fund. Obi ono ya kwako 2 box site for Lulu just ma make no. I always some make no. Mr. Furiata could read the budget in order to sway people's mind or say, a crap on the pure taxes. Just ma make was say Ghana, you pay say pure taxes should be 12 million. But you pay pure taxes at 2.something million. So 2.something, 85% from Greater Accra. I have a 2 box site. I have a 2 box site. What could 2 box site will become? The partner no attracts cooperation agreement. Also, there are 2 interchanges, Sino Hydro deal. The money is being set aside. Kwaya didn't catch it and say when you find your baby.
I just love this guy. Nana for me feeling it. And this point, last point, no make it, is a point I need to have a video, no. You know, I can't even for punish NPP now. Punish God bless them for doing that because as you see, you cannot take somebody's box site. What they are by a hypocrisy interchange. What they are by Facebook account for you, you don't expect the people to come back and a proper kind of now I be now yes. Now, I mean, Prof put it very, very beautifully. Say, Sisifiano minority no menyano. This is a Sisifian minority. It is a Sisifian minority. Seriously, this is what I say. It's wickedness against Ashanti Kingdom. It's wickedness against Ashanti region. What can find box site? Or no agreement say. What the oh ye be wa cry ye be ba the ba cry my one yet. And then you come back. Say who be now this Sisifian. Ashanti region the all the appointed crab now the NPP at no come back to no match no. Mahama got 33% in Ashanti region. Next time, swallow it. I mean, politicians just don't listen. It's in another point where this is kudos to solid presentation, solid. I'll repost this thing. As I'm not working, this is what a NPP4 should have seen. Prof, I'm coming back to you, but I'm caught in all these last minute contracts me idea, but just briefly.
Ghanaians have spoken.
Yeah, this is Dr. Matthew Boku Prempe. He's back. And you'll see he's not going anywhere. So he's still a member of parliament. Parliament is still in session until 7 January. They will close parliament and then officially inaugurate the new parliament. And so he's back, solid crowd. Still Ujina Naso.
Is there any more you're expecting from going forward?
I'm not in charge of the agenda. Those who are the business managers would agree on the agenda, and those of us who are members of parliament would do accordingly.
Are you expecting all your colleagues to be present for business to begin?
It's my expectation that parliamentarians will do their work. Maybe there might be a colleague here who is on the parliamentary business outside the chamber, cannot be here. But I'm expecting all parliamentarians to do their work.
And in Apono, no, why fresh boy, but still the fact that they lost, a woman you can see his demeanor and yet this is not the usual Napo that we know. First, Nankabo Nat and the BIM was shown at the end of Charlie. To lose the election is not an easy thing.
I fear
not an easy thing at all.
One who said Napo no Kasa during the campaign. One who said Napo so Kasa say ya. So, and a yes, will be to Mission Ahombrassier in a bitter way. Napo Kasa say ya. And the senior NPP for a car say taxes. In fact, our record we say 60% of taxes our Ghana are from Kumasi and Accra. Wow, into these two cities in Kenya, but the point now can a very valid. Takwa Pristia, we never be to a yin, or Boasina Kohe. But if your mamina appeal be our platform, and send a mini Charles Akasa. Yura, or take a course war, open so, Messereno, say, Asanti or Maya Akambuano. Your 36 paramounts or dano. Until any government do a babyano, on Mampening 4 MCs neither way in ano, and fan list in Yamu here Washanti. Now on one cassa and presenting more president Waba say, at Menameda Santiano, you hear way, a son said no quetry.
Oh, yes, sir. I get preferential treatment and for better to know.
Or India, or changing a pradia, a court, or Chimamu, Meboa. You know, go for a dryer way, or changing that. I can see being here way. And to mess say on finding him because Macquay.
Yeah, but chiefs are not supposed to do politics, so
that's politics. Politics, if you are here, Mr. On Sre Emma Santi, mine say, ye hear clinical ha, ye hear school ha, ye hear will ha, Mr. Mo, or may your mamma.
Or coconut of one to your man, yo, and you don't know I yell, you can ask Obiofias and Tibian Fessica.
Wasn't a cohort to go na Hesenia, to Kanya, you can send yet here, patch on me.
Yo, probably because they are okay about to go in a government of Ghana, one sitting phone call or two for, and then call Hinibia, I do my own education, sir. One sitting po and call or Hinibia or two for Nya Capre. Nina and Chromatia for 1960, no, Minerals Act. Minerals Act, which says all minerals in Ghana are naturalized. They've been nationalized for vested in the president. Ti Capre, all money to okay and corporate and Kita Hefo, ni na president no.
Oko South Africa, baby, you too good be an home quine.
Meaning, but the law there is different. Only in common law, ni.
And I'm a say law idea you say review.
Okay.
Yes, I can constitutional review once a me because you two idea of chroma or boise is terrible a quine. Now me corner me who boy said tarry a baby railways in one or how oko we hono oko AGA a hono school no hono. If your boy said tarry down home when you gone too soon, I will say some so or move ram no man sorry buna now shut kronan kasankasa a woman I'm not shasiye. Now mo kwen na basa na go da ye tufu oboase no ana me busa so where are the leaders edrumri bia ye se ye fa obi wo AGC kra na ese se ohene ne sign ba wonim se nkrofo bi fa chire ekoma sika ama nkrofo bi onye na ye se gise be fa timamufo first a oboase timamufo ene ye be fa o first enso so na obi aba ama ya san so timamuni so na onye timamuni. You see, ya be no send ye no.
The change law no what do you
mean say see you to be wo mi krom a I say at least many 20% of it. Near even develop your krom hospitals in schools and basic things roads there. And say bomb because the resources are they babe bomb near DCC overchange East Legon. And other places now one gasa krom here you know a kwan basa and yeah.
I agree with you because East Legon kwan be at that one no more. Me hear me too was line which I say asphalt over asphalt.
One who knew
asphalt now just so BT said okay
NPP because Electoral NDC 31 out of 34 seats.
Mama me call your prof once and a prof ya back near last minute transition period down some of the things NDC is flagging. But proven to me and Bantam because no China or Japan, you know. But clear US in Japan, but it's all Japan or China. But proper time, I'm not good even a Aquaba.
Yeah.
Good morning for you because Japan, how you good morning?
Yes.
Good morning for you. Okay.
Prof Entry, thank you very much for holding the fort.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the way I want to join.
Yes, Maybe said before you ask me the question, if I can contribute to the not profile candidate.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think from the point of view of political philosophy, you're discussing it's such a big issue because also the modern state, as I've said, doesn't exist as an ontological reality. It's an imaginary construct. Now, as an imaginary construct, the political elite will always have to be very careful because one, Ghana, as we know today, is what it is because historically there was an assumption that there was a European who was not a Ghanaian, right? Who was the cause of all our challenges and suffering. And so when Nkrumah, for example, had to mobilize after the Second World War to advance decolonization agenda, Obekaya, or we call it inversion of the Bible, that seek ye first the political kingdom, right? So the immediate assumption undergirding political independence was that it was going to lead to nationwide, as it were, flourishing. So BRBA. See, that was the basic assumption. And whoever joined the idea of what became Ghana had that impression that if say Obroni na the oppressor, once we get rid of the Obroni, then things should be okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that was it. That was the basic assumption, right? And that is, but you see, you also know that in 1954, you see, Ghana was ready for independence by 1954, right? That was the time we were ready for independence. But then there were concerns, and precisely because of Asante and other groups, because they felt they were ready, but they were concerned about the future of what would be called Ghana. Because you see, two things were going to happen. Asante was going to lose power to some extent. Look at Asante historically.
But was Asante the target of the Independence Day? Because
not necessarily, but I'm building the point. See, Asante historically is not to yield to any authority other than the golden stool. We should understand that the golden stool is the spirit and the soul of Asante Kingdom.
Problem, what's the kind of tree? Now, I want to.
Sorry. So
breaking it down.
Yes. We see okay. Nema Asante, Asante, a golden stool. No? So, and from day one, you see, from the beginning of the 18th century, Asante, Asante. two and sister to me be a bro sabe golden stone no and sister to me be a bro sa to me so. Okay. Now that since I say best thing that say was a golden stone no sabe a free for me say free stone na buy, which means say book to me now so. Anyway, one. Okay. And to have for the first for something to think say obio sabe or tisa akonyam so symbolically ebeba under an authority that will that you know the goals will be lower no
okay, but does that problem say increase your volume now as a co-activity?
Yes.
So they want to know that does that explain why Nkrumah 1960 Minerals Act now?
No, you see that will come to the Mineral Act because that in itself also has a history. Because my increasing volume, no.
Yes. Check it volume.
Yeah, my increase, I can increase it to the highest limit. Yeah. So my point is say, okay, so in Tiabra, Asante was demanding federation, and precisely because of the point Professor NP was making. Say, who's going to me for the resources and could develop? Well, you see, one here, then people may think, say, we are engaged in tribal politics, but it's not tribal politics. Unfortunately, our name should not be misconstrued. If you are somebody may I say no, I'm speaking as an academic. And I think Professor Entry with me also speaking as an academic. So people should not run because we know people may run to say, oh, these are tribalists who are trying to do tribal. We have that issue in our country. But we should do that so that going forward, we'll know how to craft our nation again and put ourselves together. That's for me. We must make that point quite clear.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Prof, I hope you agree with me on this.
Okay. Because I've been pushing some other countries on more operating federal system now. Germany, US, they don't come anymore.
Nigeria for no we had a problem. You see, one, geographical in terms of size, yes, sir. You see, federation will be too difficult for us. And remember, I said, you see, because the nation state, as I said, what you need is loyalty. Or maybe idea here for Oman for and they say on the door minor. Now, so on the door minor, and automatic. You see, because Obia or yes citizen biano or 3 layers of loyalty. 1, Nebusian, 2, awesome. 3, and say bia, and now for say bia about or minor. Go minor dear. Sabe acquires our bed my and so so any leader, I mean, I'm happy to say profit leadership perspective. Obia will lead the piano, especially in the nation state. The first now we aim at ASL a drum or minor. And so modern directly to the state. Now to do that, I was so we use every means possible to do that. And in now, like I said, so far Santimema, you see, they were very careful. Say, look, yeah, joining idea about the Ghana. What would that mean for Santim Kosovo? Because Obesha, Prempeh the second time, and this independence, I don't know, so now Prempeh the second was very clear in his mind, say, Adibia is Santibe Biano. Asante the resources, Amagana, Esipo. And it's apart from Prempeh the first, obey the beginner of Asante modernization, you know, looking at Prempeh the second. So, okay. And okay. Yes, into make us about 1954, no. Asante who said no, see, I hope into NLM, National Liberation Movement. Therefore, Kotomoni at Dene, you appear because the assumption was that Asante for ever joined the Ghana. What would that mean for Asante Kosovo?
Okay.
Every first instance, right? Unfortunately, Nkrumah Behu said no. It was rather an act of sabotage. So, and I did a man Nkrumah Bufu Kran say, oh, say, in your Muslim Association Party. And because in Cremophone was almost a market tree. But Esan said, in Cremophone as for the way back in the 18th, 19th century. So I'm going to almost say, okay, Sasante Ejina say, yes, Rebecca Sante Afa. Almost social group in Omote, in 1954, it converted to the Muslim Association Party, almost adjoining Asante in the initial instance. Now, Nkrumah had to find a way of breaking that front into a form of until when Ghana got independence, Nkrumah was not happy. Why? Because you see, over Ahinia is a source of power. And already, during the colonial times, Abrafunu said, look, you can't do without the chiefs. Because I said, the people and their chiefs. The people, which means that you can't do it because don't say, yeah, in P Casa or Denehe. So, and that is property because it means that the one who owns the boundary, that's where the word Ohene came from. Yes. And historically, chiefs are leaders, and this issue of they don't involve themselves in politics is even impossible. I'll explain. Also, into the Nehe.
Because we academic almost they are not able to understand you.
Yes, member for also here obi ordine. You see, in old Akan or Tree language, you know, a boundary. So so ordine. So what it means is that ohene source of authority. One, what we call autochthonous. You see, either they are the first settlers or they were the heroes of Mojo Moko, and certain in Kwasumu, and I said Tokwakumu. One. And then two, Ohe Mitumi Efi, first and foremost, the spirit world. So Nananum and Omano. Until Ohe Etumi Fi Nipa or direct.
Okay.
But at the same time, too, Ohe to me also a democratic because Oduminya autocrat. So because ancestor Nankasa, no answer I did say would once, and the ancestor name out to me, you can't abuse it to me or the amount. And you have right. Now that was the challenge Nkrumah had. Because Nkrumah who say, I have funu to me. And Abafunu who said, you see, the British in particular, Ghana was a non-settler. Ghana then said South Africa. Abafuna also more fast as free and change. Almost also more exploit assassin. So the only way they could do that was to foster law and order. Say Obama exactly. And Ometumi as an job with their far and him for so. So anything we direct through system. So it is the Emma him for no Omunya to me elusu to me. So two things happen. Omunya to me, they also lost to me. But I don't know irritated by the time I independent. Because Nkrumah said that the chiefs were too powerful. And who said somehow they were pliable. Omunya supporters of the colonial enterprise. And now NLM so combined. Remember say NLM no if you are anti royalty. It's a nuclear man book which yes, I break him for 2 million. So
that is that the reason why they may not acting by it. Say anyone if you need gold, no. If you need oil, no.
Yes, but as for the mineral art, it goes back to historical times because remember, over the way back in the Aboriginal Rights Protection Society. So about around 1898, John Mensa Sabamone, Joseph Kesley Hayford. That was the first time Omoye said Omo boy asase ho ban so be kaya. Now, after a young count on say Omoye, they left the resources to the European. You see, that's one thing we don't talk about. So they were Omo on Fantifo Chrome, and that's so beautiful. But the Omoye said they succeeded in securing the land, but subletted the resources. It's a resource.
In charge of your BBI.
That's right, because remember, say
movie on the so.
Yes, remember, as Abrofono, they wanted resources, gold near they know. As for the land, you can take it. Almost the floors of the fence, Terra Nullius. Terra Nullius, make sure say, as a Sibiano and you'll be adia. That's what John Locke told them. Say, O person who say, oh, property. Adia don't say, I can't be many years, except for you. And you'll be adia at the home. It's been a media. That was the assumption they had. I don't know, and they had that precedence already. Okay, so some precedence know what they are. Then why don't we leverage it against the chiefs? So in Tisabia, resources, it must go to the nation state, as it were. Now, Obeka Ebe keep 3 point oil 2007. You know what happened? Well, I have no more. No, this are the one more than 10%. So Obeka, I don't know if Prof remembers.
Yeah, I have Prof Mills at the time.
Yes, I do.
Western region, they said they wanted 10%.
Yeah, no, they wanted more. They said they wanted more than 10. They said they didn't say they wanted. They said they wanted more. In fact, even the Western region, they said they wanted more than 10. They were clear because Omoka said for a very long time, resources are it doesn't benefit the people, and it's very tricky in a sense that what's a decentralization, right? It's supposed to be decentralization of power and development. But you see, Sawoche to me, Ulusu to me. Let's be very clear on this. Sawoche to me, Ulusu to me. And politicians will never share power, right? There's this assumption that we are sharing power in decentralized. That's why it never works. And if you don't decentralize, you don't develop. Because we are now, you see, you put Ahimfono in a very tight corner. On the one hand, you claim, say, more than 10%, right? You claim as royalty. But that 10%,
they said 10% for provide 5%, now 3%, and Dr. Dupo the call 5.
Yeah, that's assumption.
Royalty need a fear, it's almost negligible.
Yes, let's assume say also man royalty. The question is because say Ahimfono directly part of governance. They are not directly part of governance. One, Oman Kasano, to whom are they responsible with the 3% or 5% that is given them? That's the first question, right? And then two, Esan say there's no clear structures in place as to how to use the 3-5%. Oman folk cannot look up to them. Because if you ask Ohene, say, okay, why also? Because remember, historically, they were in charge of development. I mentioned Prem the First and others. In fact, in all of Ghana's history, Ahemfo, all the pioneers and the stakeholders of development, right? okay, see, you've disposed of that authority. At the same time, it's kind of the man in Israel. At the same time, you expect to say, obey the go the crew. Now, at the same time, because decentralizing unity, and Crawford are still looking up to you, the central government, and you're also unable to provide. And the central government is also very partisan because
there's confusion everywhere. Yeah,
that's right. You see, so the structures of governance are poor. I think going forward, we need to be very clear on this. The structures of governance is so poor. The decentralization system is also very poor.
But Prof, there's something that is very interesting that is happening. And President Mahama share Christian and Charismatic Association for no Prof. And okay, you remember, but my Prof. You question me answer. He has indicated a Dumana Prof. Samuel starting on Obetuaso, which is constitutional amendment. No, Prof. Samuel the Constitutional Review Commission. Do you think so? I didn't say I would be because from President Ronald Mutam on 1992 Constitution, him for free, say chiefs cannot take part. Constitutional, revisit constitutional amendment. Do you think amendment chiefs in taking active roles so that they can protect natural resources and they can be part of development?
Every modern state, must have institutions that are mediating, profit leadership expert. One say a bus is 7 maintain Bema. I was saying institutional or no you to me done twice. I say done twice. Or Hema was not that part of politics. So the bear or a done to Hema. So be twice to me conical. Now, if you say the chiefs, they are here for Efra Amanyosem, I am Amanyosema, it will not be good for us because say maintain where do we go? So, but what we can do, remember that the court itself can be compromised, and we've seen it clearly. Look, say election very difficult among because as some say, because people don't believe the court. We should admit it. You see, there's a perception that the court itself is aligned. I mean, it's so sad, but that's the reality now. That's whether it's not so many Ghanaians think. It's in the imagination of many Ghanaians. But whatever it is, I am for me, I still stand say, partisan politics they shouldn't be involved. Because partisan politics, so we see the and we can't involve chiefs in that sense. What we can do rather than say, other chamber, I am properly constituted.
Okay.
Because we share multiple bi-camera system, not like United Kingdom. So some more upper and the lower, even the US. Until I see a particular chamber for chiefs. So where they can, because as it stands for me. I didn't think constitutional review was possible, but I think now it's possible given what happened, You see, I'm a summary. You see, unfortunately, I wrote that we did it, but now I think we need it, and I'll tell you why. I think the president because you see, it was never anticipated. So a time will come, a certain president will get more than 2/3 of parliamentary control. They never anticipated. Because once you see, we tell stories better when it happens than before it happens. As he said, Mr. John Mahama, there's nothing he can do as a sponsor. Look, even entrenched as a constitution, there's a way out. And
referendum, then I don't catch a prof. No.
It's quite okay. So say you experience that. On new in politics, into an moderate. But I can assure you, say going forward, what it means in say. We must eclipse some of the power of the president. And I'll explain. So I will say, in every nation, you need a sovereign, right? Now, who is a sovereign? A sovereign is he or she who decides on the exception. And I'm taking it up again. Every nation, for proper constitution and governance, you need a sovereign. In other words, every country must have a leader who can act illegally, minimally illegal. Because otherwise, it's controversial, but I will explain. You see, because say, my name is Papa, you to me a pa. There was a difference between me and my father. It doesn't work. Then the home cannot be controlled, right? It cannot be managed. So, then you see, in the first instance, the modern state is defined as this, and I'm going to quote it. The modern state is what it is because of the legitimate use of coercion by the elite. And yes, it is impossible. Because you need to govern people. To govern, you need power. You need authority beyond the people themselves. But here's the thing. At the same time, that power should be checked from excessive abuse. You see, you can't just abuse that power. Unfortunately, as it stands, too much power is given to the president of Ghana, regardless of who is the president. And we've seen it, right? If we are not careful, if we get a leader like, unfortunately, I am not against Akufo-Addo, Nana Akufo-Addo, but where he took the nation to has given us some of us conviction that we need to eclipse the power of the president. Right? To the point
that the power also.
Yes.
But for no society, I now know behind.
Until I was say a funny way, you better control power, president, and let's say how mine going forward. I'm telling you, for that one is a must. Otherwise, we'll have a Leviathan. You better be a monster as a leader, and Ghana will struggle.
Okay.
We definitely need to do that.
Okay.
Right? Because who are president or no air appointed Supreme Court indirectly, but with excessive influence is dangerous. Who are president or in charge of the army directly, it is dangerous. Who are president or in charge of the police directly, see, remember that I'm saying directly, is dangerous, right? And all the institution of governance are people mind. The president excessive power is dangerous, and we've seen it in President Akufo-Addo's government. I'm sorry to say that. I'm not partisan, but we've seen it in Akufo-Addo's government. We need to be very careful going forward. So I think the constitutional review should strengthen the checks and balance and separation of powers. That needs to be properly streamlined going forward, or else the nation will find itself in crisis one.
Okay. And do you agree with Adewe? Because even some of the blatant decisions are NDC are flagging say AC within this transition period. They say Nina goes to their proper can say because to me now they are my president no do so do. Because I don't we are too about when we say clearly well we do but the decisions NDC say more my contract more a contractor and I gave example initially under President Kufuor Kononoma single span salary structure. Okay, have some news complaints. Oh, Brad, then our answer. Oh, Chichay and say Nisika, and the other now Chichay and I don't know 1 year during the 8 years. So, how does that speak to me and my president?
If you are minimum prempe being partly, we can always agree to disagree. In academics, Aristotle said is the hallmark of an educated person to entertain a thought without acceptance. And yet because we'll be a researcher. Now me hear research on the same field that I am not going to say or you're wrong and now you're right. I'm adding to knowledge. Into young academia for the yet say.
Yes, that's true.
The book na near Westiano or your research in will be called defending the thesis. I can't say you are the expert more than even committee, Go and educate them. And she said me quote me first time in for jump with share with TV3. Now I'm a professor me that way, but because we were not this never says our professor we see me person made it to form. Any near or your professor Kasa, I was sending me Kasa.
Yeah.
And I'm an man so Kasa, I was sending me Kasa. Because Einstein said within 3 seconds, when to me explain be true, be non Tiasia, and I want Kasa won't Tiasia.
That's right.
If you have a problem, they say you're a republic. Republic in it say a hini for no war by a young man say Kabima Mika be a year twaba a year. Na minim sidenti democracy cry can you kabina minkabi because and tally mame but
and tally
because I'm a Ghana Association president I was Cincinnati Ohio Asante 4 esi hine bi na omo si hine no omo ka say or ya Asante 4 hine na omo 4 years na omo si da bi ya Asante 4 and esi unti ye to aba ayi foforo ana ne osisi no se mempene esan say me yotumfo anam sini e wo ha anam say da bi yeto aba na yunti yayi foforo asemi ko court e ko Columbus me na me ka kiro me na me Ghana Association pre obi anime me di animu e ko ya omo ka kire say mumfam sabi o mumfam nkwasi asem no free hanko because America chieftaincy ni ha enti yan chieftaincy bibia mfanya hwe because the entire church on my way a taxation without representation ni yempe and you free Europe nearby the better your man say new world sending to tax and will be on represent me and the American the chieftaincy by the work na a hintasem ni say ahemfo and na ahemafo no omunyina politicians o via me say meaning constituency executives both in NDC and NPP so omu ya ahema ni ahemfo you buy 50 cities, need 200 cities, 100 cities now. Delegates in a general gibi. But it be my system, no, my question actual books. And ya him for no, and yeah, me says, or he because me Benny, me nanani, and I made no, and I said, my teaching a year, non contest election, but I just send me my hinyamana, obi to all me south support to nana.
It's technically the constitutional provision and yet they are still doing politics.
Enti ahemfo no etita politics in the chi ti send asofo bi so politicians no sa no mo ye enti kwa ben ye be fa so ye be blend no because your constitution no ye for America for the presidential system and you go for Westminster, a British system, and you can't boom until I confused. Because near where institution I hear some wo and Sana Republic we babeka huntino, where do they fit? But okay, a council of state na him be brewum, I send come advise your president, on any appointment. But council of state in be dormant. You will be a president, be a yin a council of state in Becca said there be that. Obi a be be almost faso. Then you see the problem says your president in Kwa be president or appointing up to 7,000 people. Or non Kwa police council, a vice president in charge, your military president, commander in chief, send all kinds of nipa back for your power sana. By a chair your country from 10 regions to 16, and so correct 16 is section about development biama. FIGC ka here market be here a lorry station be here kakra ticket emma nti wo ba bi a ticket ni ho na lorry a station ni ho a unya sika bi amfanya nti coffers ni bia anim nti 6 additional regions na etika ho no o anya sika bi amfan develop nti na yesi ya chichemu na develop my fast because aban promise here the be no distribute 1 million ama your problem kasi ni say yeah manifesto no so yan cost it and member free first year university be free about cost ya nipa no ntimi nkyere yan
na you busa president Mahama o BBC went to me
your manifesto without costing it unhu say wunim say Akufo-Addo eje bosia 676 billion Ghana cedis within this year, but free senior high school for the past 8 years cost 10 billion Ghana cedis.
Now ahena Esgracia cost yen.
Esgracia cost of many billions.
Yeah, so me I support free SHS because
exactly 10 billion who they compare 676 billion just 4%. And not just a free senior high school and cost hibiasa.
I absolutely agree.
Well, and cost hibiasa, but say per se yeah and say you have one executive because 3 arms of government. The presidential branch, the executive have too much power. And the Argentina yen separate. Well, legislature into will be a member of parliament, you are going for the Westminster system, British for the parliament, into majority party. I say NDC say and come leader. And I have to force you say on the prime minister. Without government. By any fair no, any other for America, there no presidential way. Into you blend it too, and yeah, and the
confusion. I
am also I call civil rights society. They want to be in because politics is honestly can war. One was saying I deny and it is a say no, as I say, a constitutional reviewer or be a member of parliament, be an ultimate minister.
Yeah,
ultimate minister. Your Supreme Court, US are a copy free hano. US Constitution say them a friend is a majority in the highest number of Supreme Court judges should be 9. 320 million people in America, and the highest number of Supreme Court should be 9.
Yeah. So you're more judges say I mean in America.
Yeah, 32 million. Yes, yeah, yes, the minimum should be 9. And maximum is 9. Yeah, minimum is 9. It is the Supreme Court here was 17 Supreme Court judges. 17 Obia retire on the salary.
Mahama can appoint more.
You see, Obia not 2 Akufo-Addo 2 hankers on my point and Abamba be drew a moment me and young women. And here was 17 and on person 19. What are we doing with 17 Supreme Court judges? Because the speaker, no, said the Chief Justice, or a panel just 5. Abros 1 are 7. Omama can be a better now when you may be anya, but Jenny salary or very town the same salary. So, yes, and it is or give 50,000 a month or very type we should be the same obejisicana. And the other year draining and corruption, and these are also institutional corruption. And it is a
NDC Abenya power from 7 January they have the right to amend these things. Already, Mahama sure is obey changing constitution in terms of Esgracia. No, do you think this is something he should prioritize maybe in the first 6 months or first year? Now,
Mikasa Mene Alote Jacobs and Dr. Tony Dunum. Now, University of Cape Coast, year analysis for first 100 days. And make us a allotage course or so, echo car history of Ghana. Tell me, and I'm catching and say, look, you young print, a bit me the history natural. But I mean, you had the best because the history is very relevant to what we are talking about. What is happening is the first 120 days, Osha or priorities near here empire. Near a biggest security threat, unemployment.
Okay.
Well, a Germany ho. In fact, first year of university shall year 23rd of January. And there's nowhere Mahama bet me akasa omomunko free first year, even though one of the policies, because one kasa onim sika wo coffee. Coffee num. And she say NDC tina say na yehwe say okay, sika he ne wo because a card da ho. And don't forget another also defaulted in payment of debt, the national debt and the local ones.
Some of them have been deferred, yes.
Yes.
Deferred,
yes, said the whole town. Who defer course our quackro and the car and yes, default your car, entry. So, and as it comes in your manum, and I also what promises taxes, bet tax 10%, levy, ube ye through emission tax, and the COVID-19 tax in a be ye through one tea, and in a benyesica, a dear boy man and hobra. And just as internally, how do we generate money? And our taxes is why agents who Kumasi ni Accra one 60%. All the other regions in my 40%. That means that your taxes be brain free ho. So
and do you think it's a prudent decision? Say, use our taxes when if you want.
Yeah, because now Ghana for any year boys in the humanity bet na no mucha. And this ultra ye bet dinner na said that you di bakwa was what be create 10%. How more? So an idea, as I say, the way you're taxing, if you say, Mason, or $200 of cement, not the bay of Mamawa, or charge your price of the same $100 of cement, on see the class taxes. Or be by your security fence, Mawa, or say, Abia, 15,000. 15,000, no, or generate cash, on tax. Or be by your cabinet will fear, or your mode of payment for artisans, because 60% of them are artisans, Mason, carpenter, electricians, Omunyasika. But no original sika on taxes. But teacher Nina Yaman 1,005 and 1,002 no 2,000 no or no yet almost 40% as taxes. And then how do we broaden the tax nets and the artisans because may experiment be as professor here research. Semificophobia me kwa so such and concourse Bruno omomoton boy by anybody or pound no. Say or 50 Ghana cedis me call a ye. A friend is saying, vast matter, no, and I say, not the same price. I dare no turn upon my own triacapreno, which is a black market. The same price in your town store, I would you live in that way, and the identity no monument to so for your talk council, but the same price as your store, I would taxes. Some of these things we should have national dialogue. Yeah.
Well, it looks like Mahama here in a 120 point or cancer national dialogue on economy, on education.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, capping President Power said you air cannot, but yeah, capping because some of these decisions, Mahama has the first 100 days. I say honeymoon for the first year. But yeah, which one the engine finish the power to appoint Supreme Court because Constitution didn't yaman.
Yeah, I'll respond to that. But said that prof kind academics, we do work for cognitive engagement. Yeah, now research more incommodate. First and foremost, one say kasa kebmami kebina. We say yeah, kasa no na yeah no sena nke eno. About consensus building, right? Because what people say now no na make say so here at the time a baby re-democratizing now. The conversation at the time was a quite best to me a poor mind because once an apple can I say sometimes we get confused, hybridized, right? You name say echo the British or the American, and it has been the history of Ghana from day one, right? In Kroma Buzia, there was a difference. So we have that checkered history. But me also and they say so I would say it's about consensus because from day one, that's why Ghana politics is very partisan. Anything issue is very critical. So I say we know they are involved in politics, but essence the constitution is yet too clear as to exactly where they stand in politics. And the prof can look. My research was on chieftaincy, my PhD research. So they know because they are also makers. They are only stakeholders of development, And Obia, they've always had power. Let's admit it, because Ohene only to me or one, yet Yantun is swabba. Onya to me directly from Nanano, and we are one. And you can't tell that person no when you have power for all this one, say all of a sudden, or want to be involved in politics. It is not possible. And it was there's a book of Chieftaincy Bible. Professor Arudoba, any Professor Arudo, or daughter, or more editing. It's a big volume. I think that was during Kufuor's time. Now the chiefs were complaining, say that a constitutional provision, a way of curtailing their power, said they can't be involved in, for example. But remember that the constitutional, the assembly, they not done.
Consult, yeah, I'm the Professor SKB Asantiana.
They were very clear because Omu said, so they partisan politics, are very rough and acrimonious. And so what your hand for Bata, who I make us say, you see, or my piano, I was an institutional, objective and significantly neutral. As a subject, maintain once a bar, or made that one. And no one guess I him for me, but as a decentralization American, I'm not properly constituted. And they are forced to come in because also what decentralize it, but if not decentralized power and resources, how will they develop? You cannot create. So that's where the problem lies. So it is a structural problem. Fundamentally, it's a structural problem. Now, point number 2. Bones say, but American Supreme Court, they are very clear. Every member who's on the American Supreme Court is known where they stand philosophically and ideologically.
Yes.
It is clear.
So when you're conservative and now you're liberal,
that is why Dr. Dami was deceiving Ghanaians to compare Ghana Supreme Court and America. Look, it doesn't work. I'm sorry. It's about time as a kind of prayer. American Supreme Court, before you start it, we know where you belong. And that's why for them it's a big deal. Right? So we are left is that they can tell before even you go and sit on it. Ghana will pretend a lot, right? So the judge will pretend, so I'm on a line. Look, Prof mentioned two Supreme Court parliamentary approval. I watched the 2 of them. One of them, it shouldn't have even happened in the first instance. Because you can't lie. I mean, if you lie, look, we are here, we are watching you, we are marking your responses. You can't look. I'm sorry. They are not in my book that's coming out. I've mentioned it. It was. I'm sorry. I won't put it here in a bad language. But then you can't deceive us. But I want to think I said I will try now doing and you're the same. No. Let us not deceive ourselves. In academia, knowledge is political. We know, and it's also ideological. You can't tell me what you write and what you do are different. No, you can't. At best, you can say you can revise your position. You can revise, and you can't tell me.
Yes.
Of course, that's why we have 12 notes. You see, we write and revise. Once I make us say, in some of my works, I contested constitutional review. But let me tell you, I'm saying, me and I can't make one. Now, because it's a person insanity. Once you know you, because you're not majority, I say, anyway, one. And Council of State. As I say, again, Prof talk about Council of State. Now, remember, I said, the problem, as I said, excessive power that is given to the president. And it's in the Council of States, I press a rubber stamp. I'm sorry to say this, but it is dysfunctional. Because what is the power of Council of State? An advisory body. The president is not mandated.
The point is that President Mahama, because given his experience in government and in politics, very vast experience, he has the opportunity, and unfortunately, he has this super majority in parliament to make him Should he change this president? Council of State in the second chamber in Parliament, and
remember the Council of State, like I said, it's an advisory body. The president is not mandated, and then by force or consulted, and then by force.
But when you now should gas time, are they not draining us?
No. Remember, you see, America says, our team says, we'll go around the circles talking about much ado about nothing, right? Because Omaino has a structural deficit. You see, Omaino share, you have a structural problem. Fundamentally, the way I structure politics and power. Remember, 2 things. You see, so me free me them kwa bontia. 2 things. Na me sika any to me. Remember, say me free me them epia bontia. Sika any to me assembly account. And as sika any to me adebia ocha you lose. So ocha sika then your business you lose because one MSK a ban chain free if it's not for business. So also now to me, to me now chain for free you lose. Okay, so we need to be very clear. That's why we call some social contract. Now, unfortunately, Ghana, remember, Prophet of America. America took several centuries to be where they are today. I'm not saying we should also start from there. But that's why I love history, right? Or for Prof, maybe it may have misconstrued me. But you see, once you know where you are coming from, then you know where you are going.
Where you are going, okay.
Because Americans were not protesting. Let's be very clear on American history. They were not protesting against royalty. They were fighting for recognition. That's the basic part of America. And that is why America became a modern state as a light to the rest of the world. In the world, it was I'm saying this on authority, that it was only the US that could say that we hold this as ontological truth, that every man is entitled to truth, to life, liberty, and prosperity. No nation. Do you know why? Because from day one of human civilization, power is structured and hierarchized. Okay?
Exactly. Na top point is from entry point. The Ghana you knew. And the other you cover will be constitution. Confusion.
I was here to say it was a maker say the problem was in Nkrumah. It's not that Nkrumah was a problem, but the problem was how do you constitute a nation now? We see because you have Asante, you have Sebestrimfo, you have Infantefo. So how do you unite them in a way that you have? That is why 1964 Nkrumah wrote conscientism, because after everything failed, he said, "Look, now I think I was wrong. We need to synthesize the very key institutions that make Ghanaians what will make Ghanaian to be Ghanaian."
Okay.
Remember, I said, even your flag, it was based on a certain logic, say, Ethiopianism. Say, Ethiopianism. I trust, okay, remember the Bible says that Ethiopia shall stretch forth its arms towards God. And there was this assumption, if we take something that people can easily identify, then we will unite the frontiers of Ghanaians. As it stands, again, we have a structural problem. The problem is structural deficit in the sense that too much power is concentrated in the hands, not even the executive, but the president.
The president, exactly.
No, let's not even confuse the president and the executive. You see, the president.
The executive is the president is the executive.
Obia post-election announcement at the NPP for Nankasa Kana. You notice that Akufo-Addo, I'm sorry, was abusing even the own executive. He was not listening to them because he has power to do what he wants to do. Okay, so it's a structural deficit, and to resolve that, I agree with Prof. You see, that's what make us say we need a chamber for chiefs, and let's empower them in their own, because you lose out, right? You need to do that so that when you empower them, they become responsible.
Okay, to Prof, me some specific question. Now that President Mahama is set to take over 7 January, what should he do? Because on one case indicates so person or and he's pushing say constitutional review now. Prof. Samuel starts up say or twaso. Are there any key things I will be advising, at least top two? Over advising the President Mahama.
Two things. Okay, expectations are very high, and we are one. Right? Now, if you don't manage expectation well, that's where conflict comes in. Once I start thinking, or say, I'll catch up say, a commonly before and a tutia Mahama. So I also a commonly before so at which means they come any before. You see, you say a job when you're munanam. And will be a comedy no. You see, a fire for pine and chamber. A hungry person is an angry person, right? Two things. The first thing, where John Mahama, he has hinted it, and he said, Obama and your mamu adaho amagana for huneti. Your friend of adaptive leadership. So adaptive leadership say that's forget about constitution at the moment. The first thing is to open up to Ghanaians. Say, Omaino, the Akuduni. Let's share for phone crime. You see, at this point, we need hope. Okay, let's not dilly-dally. Things cannot change overnight. Omano atita pansa. Menka says be Akufo-Addo anyebi. Wayebi. Papa. But as it stands, we have challenges. The first thing is adaptive leadership. The ability to carry the people along. A philosophical question. And a technical issue. I'm telling you, right? And this is where we need proper hope building. Let Ghanaians understand. Talk to them like a father and the children. But let's be transparent. Oh yes, I know trust me, then we can move on easily and smoothly.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's where, like I think Prof was saying about dialoguing. This is the time we need to have that conversation, right? If I were President Mahama, that's the first thing I would do. The first 100 years, this promise is good. But the first thing is how to carry the people along. You can only do that when you open up, have conversation. They should decentralize the conversation, right? Let people, and it should be too clear and crystal. Say, every region, you meet the youth, then you let them know, say, Omani, a better, science and fact, they are better in it. Now, why are very clear? So, okay, they're better, from calculation, it will take us so and so years to get what we want to get to. So, to me, yes, sir, and I say, but why, yes, sir, but then it means that expectation is hemmed in an imbalanced situation. Then listen to trigger maintain. Already we see people going to Bandara because they think they're papa. You need to to manage that.
Okay. Prof. Pepper, what do you think what's Mahama, especially 10 year unia be market? It's here expectation here high. Obi aka say NDC for boys in Mahama going to be didi. But
the slogan in yes be didi keke ba ube didi peche.
Exactly.
Sana Mahama ba si nyina be didi peche.
Yeah.
Afe na Mahama expectation that is Kufuor ba 8 years ago the same expectation. Yes. The Macau platform say the expectation am for Mama Nado after going many times, you know. Say papa when we need grandpa and Kagana for emfa encha omo ho da. But after the Mama nyanya no say na Ghana for who so the expectation is so high. It's say not NDC for nkwan the comedy or match for 8 years in opposition. But NPP for so a omo di party na chi ne comedy or match. Ejuma ni ho nti ejuma ya number 1 because the youth no ya mom something to live for. Obi be ma something to die for. Anti-violence cause any other way you say nipa na accommodate no boys here ye hia mo street mu a o hye wo sika bia no de isu abebu ka ni ma o ye any stop am o na najo mbe wiaye no accommodate no o be sre wo ma no ntime da bia sika o mo ho amede che because sa ebia wo sika na be save life anadwo bi.
That's right.
Because ye da ye keka ye ho tumu tutumu ne sa ne ma bi ye the expectation in the say yempe Joman Crawford.
Yeah.
Pese Mahama ye ni Malaysia for president or ye okofa akwa bia no wo UK na ohwe airline bi ye very efficient. And okacha nse me pese obeye eyimame minister like chief of staff emame wo and our bani say ontimi nye and I say identity to me you are not only letting me down but your whole country because ufri Malaysia na okotena UK and I say I can only do it on one condition say o brother wa appointing the minister no oyam fun so ametimi yinedi o say eno pe na we and you betimi aye nti oba no e na chair Malaysia kroni nyina mu into groups to say districts counties nti ombodwa no be hia wa na wagusa say ebia Kofodia for mun chair number 1 priority ni hia mo no maka say ebia ye park ni hia yen second ye kwan no wa hu say park and who is in charge of park who is in charge of kwan nti you call round the whole country for the first 6 months. Opina se sikane sen ye beto ye bi ebinim but say na me pese me ye na me boam nti owie ni nyina no the man collated everything okay okọ adansi asokọ a unimade ehia adansi asokọ for afia arewo sem toilet public toilet Katie Hamon kotena adansi asokọ 24 years public toilet enti makoba bi a omuka chense omu ni omu hia ye eba bia yesi man a ye yie eno pe de hia o nti obi a won priority.
That's right.
Enti se wo kwagege ne sa na oba I have for some year enti say roads na I have for na wo de road minister ensa one man resources say you nsu a wo de ama ono ayi na wa mom 1 year no do a obodwa na minister sin nya be present to the president say na wo de share yensa no say na yetimi akoduru wa wie no they give you a green card you stand somewhere. Wa medo na wonwie ye no omudo
Kufuor ye bibisa but an sheda nkosi agabiasa okay so buy of
they have to go through
media and on
because
the same people now say pamo kind of he didn't listen.
Can I come in, Prof?
Yes, come
in. Prof, the same. Also, make us say, adopted adoption say, also, all the Ghana compare Malaysia in a way it doesn't work smoothly. Because once say Africa, including Ghana, no, the focus on the international world, on our part of the world, is incomparable to the so-called late industrialized nations.
I know,
right?
I know.
Good. So you see, that in itself is a bigger issue.
The point, we all learn best practices.
Yes.
America was problem with football. Remember football.
Yes.
And almost working with half final Germany. Any other teams, someone players call learning best practices.
Okay.
Now they are using it to build American national mental.
I agree. Once America say, once no, the raise that point in the say, and once a leader no, once America's opening up is very critical. Just say, once who make it very good.
But what he agrees with you, say, Mahama open up.
Many agree. We are all trying to open the right door with the right. But say, we agree with you. I'm not talking about almost system. Almost system because system no Iraqi now system ni ho. America will be intimate abuse and I say or show racism openly because the system will not allow that person to do that.
Right.
Now Ghana no young Ghana ni betimi ebu anim ti ebu anim as oni say encourage.
That's right.
Enti yeah there no make us say best practice will be aye no. And yeah pick it say on constitution ya hwe man ya copy antum constitution. So enti no ye say indemnity clause be wo your constitution mu samre because military for na dey buy. Say president ye bibi on timi mfa no court or ye citizen like anybody. And so we are a sick and so ye bibi why not send the president to court? So and now ye what say ye have more than half of MPs and ye ministers. And you obey minister wabeka executive no ho. Or some legislative system or now or belonging to two arms of the government. So what is the checks and the balances, the separation of the powers? And also say if you ho and President Mahama said a national validation conference. I don't one name. So the national validation conference and also example as what is going on in parliament now. You ensure that say you hang parliament.
That's right.
I don't know buffet. You enjoy it. But when we say this parliament way a simple 132 sitting for 4 years, because parliament to be a part-time job.
That's
Parliamentarians need more a part-time. 6 months and 6 months to fear. Until the constitution is say almost 132 times in a year. When 120 comment me and share. Because acquire hang parliament, no be also is trying to cut out the president. And he says, or better try say or better favor president in the policy. The president now appointing as a minister in addition to a member of parliament. Why? Because a check a street light 500 each for members of parliament. Now your minister come 1,000. So and Ethiopia is trying to catch the eye of the president instead of the eye of the speaker. And Ethiopia laws, you see.
So it comes back to the structural problem. I don't believe the president should be taken to court. That why I don't support it, and I'll tell you why. It's philosophical. One will say a president by a hostile witness. As simple as that. You don't want a hostile witness because if you take the president to court, he becomes a hostile witness against the state, the execution of the state itself. And
now, maybe you copy constitution is free and no president against him.
Yeah, the Trump court, the Trump Onyenipa.
Remember that. You see, I agree. But what they will do, let's be honest with ourselves. There was espionage. The case of American espionage was he tried? He wasn't. He was rather guarded until he died. You know why? Because even Trump, I can assure you, there was no way Trump was going to be led to disclosing some sensitive fact. Because once you put them on the spot, they become hostile. That's why they were hostile witness. You don't want to do that.
Okay.
Because now you see what it means is that it is you prevent the process that would lead to the president being taken to court. That's what we need to do. You see, that's where the checks and balances need to be correct. Because so that's what I'm saying. It's a structural problem. So we need to come back to ensuring that the checks and balances works. For me, that's the most important thing.
Why I'm saying now me and say why you must be in Acaminia.
And then tell me what's the problem.
I have
academicians.
I fear I have 4 A's. As a president, I accept to say Ghana for it for Obama because na nyama nkoye.
That's right.
Now you told me another A and say say appreciate say as I say or year more than or year last time.
Okay.
Because Ghana for expectation more 1 meet more expectations no better to papa as well. NDC can win within the next 4 years. The third A and they say we have to adjust to your current situations, So where do we adjust? And then we do what? Now, your 2 ministers or so from 123 so not more than 60. And in never be do what I say adjust the corruption. As I said, Ghana for who say and crophobia among amos yes or more disicano. One form court in your way. So at least
a big challenge.
Can say operation recover all looted items. And then together we adapt together. So accept, appreciate, adjust, and adapt. Once that is done, I think we'll get somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, I'll add briefly to it. I'm pleading.
Go ahead, my brother.
What do you need to?
Yeah.
Okay. First one.
For one, you see, I'm building on what Prof said. You see, me now, the FAPM, as I said, is structures. Well, so okay, Ghana, there is corruption. We see every nation, no nation, and I'm making this point clear. or maybe be an obituary point without corruption, one form of corruption or the other. No nation can survive on that, except that is the institutions. So, institutions now, corruption, properly established. What it means is that who accumulated, there's redistribution. So once you accumulate, there's redistribution. That's how corruption actually could be instrumentalized to build a nation state. Now, let's look at Ghana. Yeah, we have a peculiar situation. The first is that kinship ties are very strong. I'm sure Prof is aware. As Professor Onana Efewo, near Ose Shuma Onana Edare Efewo, near Sabi Omame Eko Fuma or Breya or Lucia Shikakra, Nenana no Efewo. So you see, what it means is that the kinship, me I'm Japan. If my salary, Sika Majeno, me nyoko ono Japanese, me colleague edges the same amount. Your living expectations will not be the same. Because me know the talks are many. Okay, so where are these things coming from? Meanwhile, no Japanese, Oniba or Baka or the system. So that's what we need to do. It comes back to the structures I was talking about. Say, the decentralization system no very well. Ebushe bia we Japadi omutumide show ansana o my neighbor. Anya no mo mkwefu. Anya no mo ade be omutumide show so. Ebushe be we Japadi. Okay. But it's answer o my no age we na efi ebusua ene ahemfo nsem nti no. Now everybody's looking up to the state. And he said on the this year a part of the state and the this year wo hobi. So intimidation or the other is a that's what the man are no. Okay. Fundamentally, I'm telling you, is
and the second point is
yes, the second point for me it can adapt because young will say Sebenya Sika Ghana assistance, that one for certain, right?
Yeah, oh, that one for sure.
Yes, I was said Mahama very clear. No open up to Ghanaians. Okoji, there's no free lunch. Oko Bob Wobisia. I was on Sakoto Abrobian. Anyway, the obedient is a man who says Kami Koji. A whole conditions in it. So, because no this amount, one was south from no one to see what we are so. Name for not Koji, and all day man, also I man for say, Utriatas and Amasia. Into a mouse and poor or the do if you change. So, it is said, yeah, very clear as a nation say, yeah, independence, you can't have them. According to Pensubia, Yahweh, ideological, ideological globalism. And you for Bobby Sianaka, who say conditions be very clear to your people, for. Say the Ako do say na Akobano. Say Udi no creditor man for Mamaka Bincho. Once a church of Pentecost means sorry, a Brako Fado, Echo IMF. I'm catching say yes, and Koya Bebo. I'm saying this on authority. Say if it means the church mobilizing resources from within to obviously we are happy to do it. Why? You will be paying. Because over Africa, it's an American, Malaysia, and Africa. The level of focus and attention on Africa, you can't compare to any nation under the sun. As we speak, look, I read late industrialized economies. Japan, what we call the Asian tigers, Singapore, Malaysia, South Korea, all of them. The reason they succeeded, they say, you see, the level of attention a war survey, or minus compared to Africa, and yet the same. Okay. They had the benefit of what we call technological transfer. We didn't have that, and we still don't have it. Okay. In Africa, you see, we are the breadbasket of the world. No matter what, they will never allow us to go free. I'm being honest with you.
Okay. Very well.
There's a time for the academic. We know as academics, even what we write, political, like I said earlier, as if we make a trial, Routledge unpublished, paragraph unpublished, because we call you a mama. Profits are aware, and I'm aware. And this is the time that we say about adaptive leadership. This is the time as Africans we become conscious again. Right? Yanti and wants to say, Yanni, you are nearby, Yanni will be said. Yanni will be said.
That's what you're saying to President Mahama.
That's why
I think from all indications, Mahama can do things that he wants to do something that is completely different.
Anything I go for to buy, or they Ghana beyond aid. Then I was in Cambridge. Well, if you see now, especially Africa, we all supported because it was now it started with Thabo Mbeki in the 90s with African Renaissance, right? We supported. Before by or managed, that's why before once again brought the Chieftaincy Act. You see, because of a Shemukena, hoping that the chiefs will be brought into to foster African Renaissance. It didn't happen. I go for the buy and party member or the Ghana Beyond Aid buy. We supported. Why? Because you say, yeah, how and said the piano, Yakobi Bible say the borrower is a slave to the lender. You see, now cost living in China, or to me also. That's why I mentioned adaptive leadership. My own man for anti as I said, now Omana could do no. Yakobo Besia.
Profo did so on man comfort tiase and comfort tiase because then only a member pro education.
Yeah,
your mom baby.
Mama can't show. Yeah, no problem. They say. So I no kwafwa. Yes, the truth may grow skinny, but it will never perish. Oh, so I no kwafwa. You don't fear the truth. You see, cannot cry. Oh, me no, I believe in truth. Me, I answer me worry. Me ma, or baby, I be just a mini car, mini dime. You see, either you accept me or you leave me. No, it's as simple as that. I prefer to be honest and truthful to say me can't truth because in truth, you be exposed. I'm telling you, and to the kind of prayer, no one hate you if for nothing. Yama for
yes, I fundamental no be a bit
because that's what you if for nothing, that's what you if you for nothing, you have 4 years. Listen, if for nothing, you have 4 years, right? That 4 years, you know. So I'm for ya there, a bit lead to impeachment. I be ma oyeno about my name, kind of prayer. Say, look, let me bet to you. Emunye. Oh, so kind of prayer near tower. What they kind of prayer na koso ye no matter what will be remembered. That's what we can't try. We can't try. No, you're more deadly because in that case, the fundamentals, as you said, will expose you. That's for me where the problem lies.
I feel quickly. Na ejuma bi amaye pen na ye fellow ye yinkro fodi. Na manager na oba obeka cha say market ya ye say. Na ye yi nipa nso adi a affect o mo adwuma mu honi nyina because ebinim ye namfo na ye nti me ti market ya no so 20%. Na obi anso so betene de so 20% amamya na yetimi akipu obi na munuanom bi enkofi obi ate ase sa enti say o come up clean say menim say first 100 days say President Mahama eba out beka say e ka me betu ye ni e ka me nuanom me betu ye ni sika nso a me project say menya e dia ye me policies a me kan ABCD that sika e bi eni ho enti me ye ni in trenches senior World Bank ne IMF former is kamutua in trenches no men in trenches may way first 100 days na trust me say because I promise first 2 weeks first 14 days no be in the ministers that means the ministers will be ready and it's not going to be more than 60 at least we know say wakati na nado the by half and ti sesika you treat ministers no bodyguards ni sa eyin nyina no watwa bi hwefi yes ye be hwe as Gracia and Sika the microphone so any constitutional review no article 71 and then you young Senate no be ba 4 years and yes kukusika
absolutely
the amount no ko say Sika nyina ya kwekwe ho kakra me kire wo say Magafuli sa no ye wo Tanzania amotimi see modern day dam ama say dum so ni ho bi electricity efri ho enti say yanya yetimi hu say Sika yenyani ye be mia ye ho na nye say nkrofo live extravagantly ukọ director bi fia electricity and Ghana water cars nkwa be 10 na si ni fie me kwa pipe ni ye pe car ba ko e di kra ko akọ fix ya ye nya car exactly ba ko asisa cars nyina agu ni fie but na we no me nim be kwa ye fast that extravagant way of because ye building institution around individuals and then am your president in the brano I fear as a dean I will invest in Ghana no obi ba my officer obusa prof can I sit me say yes you can sit can I talk and I am wanwa
because I just catch yours that's what you do
you see and uni holy that uni wa bibi anko so ye the trial because ye odi bibia around the baako me kwa ye na me na ma say adenti na nkwa na nam na ba ye pani kwa na nti ese ni pedi wachi so sort ne out mo obi afia
no kuta oba emu
ya build a system as a onipa nika no ni fia no ni di papa we ni ka ni papa we ni fie ni enti nia oni bi na obobrobo konkron onwie sika na oba fie no ye fi se wa mobra so ho nia wawie sika aye ni bebia ni sika fi na kohwe ayi 4 square dan ye si wa kra de eton $450,000 $500,000 4 square asase kitwa ni esisi so busasa if no munya sika even chado omutimi sigan go bebre sa and they are all politicians and as a politicians boys na ya dia mom and we should all be vigilant so when you cross our community now we say papa ejuma ye ntare NPP former chairman first chairman mi fie nchewa ko hotel kase wosi big hotel and then you ask say papa ejuma
me come here say in the year papa I 30 minutes me say am on for join only Wednesday about to us because let me try this issue about whether before sabotage Mahama because even before Bebana all these issues about signing of contracts near day and even opposition before yes so Mahama before starting opposition everybody start
because yes Mahama on $8 no so free 17 and from 4 I bet you I don't know so one so am 2 Alberto Yenti, Sanya Cassa or Betiswa Merhove, we are married. Your problem is say your two abana will be Canaan 52% and a 48. They say you're 50, almost 57% and 41. Enti there be no Lucy and person winning and the for the next 4 years. Why Mr. White Papa Bia. Fabo man and a year and quiet day in a sabin. A quiet ya, young your fast and so ya young and say stop playing now better. Near I said, Yamia because
Steph, many of the past a professor and a penny was saying. Now I'm going
to say, snapping mammy and more.
Prof. Casembio, now me research, I will mention the area. Make area ho, I can see empty because over retirement, you can't maintain such houses, right? So the question is, to be honest with you, it is happening on our university campuses, sadly. Look, Prof. Papa Penny, and I know he knows what I'm going to talk about. So I'm here to scholars, academics, they were real academics. They were the Socratic type of scholars.
It's true.
Because Obia academic, and I'm telling you the gospel truth. Prof knows this. So you know what it does to you? You see the world as nothing, right?
Yes.
Because you see, there's a certain joy. You see, knowledge is empowered. Honest, if you say, I quite orgasm, I'm sorry. You know, you have a feel.
No, I like it.
And then, I'm sorry. And then one, said, I'm sorry. Okay?
Knowledge, you probably also repeating obium. Knowledge is like.
No, I'm saying. Academia is infiltrated with charlatans, and it's a vocation, it's a calling, right? And it's a calling because, and then the Akobani says, you see, it comes with structural problems. Obi, every first degree, Ejumeni ho sika ofie netwa so to 1 away time. We masters, Ejumeni ho sika ofie kotwa PhD. So you have charlatans. I'm sorry, look, I know people take me, but I'm happy to be taking on me. Everybody knows me. Yeah, you can Google my name. I'm as radical and central as I am.
So all these people know I'm finding in politics. They are charlatans, not real academics.
I'm sorry, no, my goodness. I am happy to I meet them, I tell them in conference. I'm a young man, I'm a tech, they know me. Look, so what happened to PhD? You know PhD, what it means? Doctor of philosophy. Philosophy means philosopher, right? It means the fountainhead of wisdom. Okay, so if you have a professor who claims to be PhD holder and does not know the advantage of vanity, go to university campuses 4x4. I'm not against 4x4, right? But the same people go and complain against politicians. Look, I teach my students and I teach philosophy. You must know existential philosophy. Why am I here?
Professor, your whole topic. Because you know recently when this PhD issue came, say it came because of idea we are okay. Because more academia and a bit more said okay, movie away from knowledge. Including those who have entered into politics, into battle problem. So you better wait next week. A whole topic on its own. The value of this knowledge, because I agree with you, knowledge there. It's like
how much is such allowance?
We'll take this up next week. It's a problem, but I'm not to be leadership expert. Now, problem, so Chadi or take, and as you say, Japan on sabbatical or Chadi or home. Fantastic discussion. Yeah, that was papa. And in India, and the whole a couple of hours. Yeah, that must be next week. Yeah, that was. In fact, this is a very good topic. Because those are your politicians, including on my penny president, the Kufu Dubai. One of the things I'm on your fans. And so, academia, what being or you say. And the question is, what being in Susan, so they're actually, am I a who's and power being? This is the effect of being our being. And I just being in vacuum. Oh, okay. Nana, Edmond Barfest, Mama. Edmond, good evening.
Good evening, Sophia.
And then I am one to talk. I've got time like a
that's it. You can another prophecy. I'm saying starting on Bob and every brave so now really because of charity. I'm not born title now. I am fast. Yeah, they can. I would say Prof. I cannot be brave about NPP for we will lose you. I want your man. One or boss some scandals. There, of course, who am I buying him? President Nakasa Ebuna Niguso. Obi said that party is Ubuna Niguso. I'm going to break Kaya Wamua. Secondly, so NPP for Lankasa, the whole NPP, for the first time in the history, NPP for a campaign song Biada. Omaya campaign song Bia for the first time in history, Omaya campaign song Bia. When I this the first option was NPP for Lankasa, and the second national executives in Yasako straight away. National executives in Yasako, especially Stephen Tim, Nana B. Some of whom you know, say, Yasako fast, every party. Because the word maybe I'm Osha a year, Chairman General, I said in Katia, if you Okodo who are eating 275 points in Okorina this year. Who here na be a no apart from so as a person Sifiani, as always Sifiani, no apart from so as Osha Naposu Zamaka, and a Baumia near Lomotene, Baumia, just mistakes in Qua, and on Baba. You say, oh man, said I no meaning, send on Belusu. Because now division about party him. Where can we and now members in the running is
okay.
Even yeah, a brother has a inano. The Benuan say, but now still almost say, it is come away. And then you because what is come who near? Or maybe it's kind of a jedi, a cordino, or a jedi, when we say, Abano, I have to Abano. I'm saying the next day, I two. But imagine said the whole Yuma, I ever twaba. How so bet me about two full. Bro, so mine, why I did.
I agree, said they could have hit about 4 and not to me. I will be an automatic adjustment system or President before time no more yes our system no. But as the president, when he could have stopped, they say, yeah, and I'll see any EBI, how they argue, but there's a system there.
But the power when you say the election said, of course, so wait me, because this is election time, and there's the time for you or government. It's a way to me before. That's if you are there, say, oh, I didn't see any and what so be any so. But says Yana, the answer is Yana, and the answer about Mahama. But on us, I did not so I carefully say. It's a promises of one Ghana for any power because one is Russia. Miss Economy first day, maybe I say as Russia will become. Because on money now, any FSS as Ghana Elko individuals, MPs money, and that judiciary near you for one. As also too much. And so bet me, Asher, that's as Gasha will become. That's the first thing, levy. Second, and public tax, meaning say, still, there are so edgy public tax, a be a minimum. And a betting tax, a best year or more year, and my so, the name of our pay. Yeah, just say, what by because mine, a former your woman say, your mind about your mind have known to me and selling your money. I want me, animal with the me, yes, animal way for, and after, yeah, I think for man, you make me a by. Now for following your man, good service, be better, yeah, General. Trust or not, Yama swing.
Well, Busiani, the Empacho, Mamunia expectation, Busiani, the Babo, Coscanio. Busiani, the Empacho, the Babo, because it can be anywhere, the baby, yeah. Good evening.
Since a very child, yeah. Now, if I know, upper say I know quite now, she can't Mama no go find away. One go bubble she now want to tax her, about the yes can. You know, sometimes this is what I call unrealistic expectation. You want the best things of the world, but you don't want to pay your taxes to contribute to that best thing of the world. How does that happen? So it won't happen in a vacuum. Anna, sister Fia. Intimi fee say, yeah, they say be on the quarry. Yeah, very realistic about the situation. Near problems, you know. Because you cannot tell me, say, you want the man to complete all these projects. And where do you expect the work first can they fear about? Or about conjoy Chicano? Definitely, what about Bobo Shia become a tax slam with you, Chrome, you name himself and go ye. And Obeka so tax reform, sir, and you have been for sure about. And for so we tax reforms, sir. It will not take 3 years, 2 years to get the benefit of all those reforms. Once open, I didn't even say on your way. Intimi fee said, it's time for the politicians to, have a common agenda and I say a common developmental plan, and then bucket some projections about where they intend to get money, and then let it be across the board. No be answering on once to say, hey, this is on mine. This is where we all stand. We all start from the same page. Now, yes, I need India who's on the plan and thinking, say, some politician is a magician. He will come and then within some few years, things will turn around. Now, would you see it? We will come back again 4 years, 8 years, 16 years from now. And now, with professors now, the interview about symptom now, I wanted to ask them a question. Let me yes, you let them go.
My
question is, Prof, and so we can in Ghana, we've experimented every kind of leader. We feel we can have. So why are Ghanaians still not satisfied? Do you think that under Mahama something will change? Maybe
no, they've already spoken about systems now. You want to you can say confusion room because you're from America kind of maybe that's where the issue
exactly lies. Many prof structural issues no can. I know people take it for light. Or movie say some light in the and I said I know sister if you are them for both because immediately then first come show people to mobile economic situation improve. But there's no way you can run any country when the governance system is not in the order. Because governance is as important as the promise to deliver the things that the politicians say they want to deliver. Now, say governance sister, you will get the results. They will simply see. They will repeat themselves one government over one government consistently, and that's what we've seen. And intermediate, if Mahama can use his constitutional numbers to help us reform the governance structure of the country and put it in the place as sister, going forward, our governance can support the kind of vision development. I think that will be for me one of the biggest legacy he can leave because your constitution where the problem is so many there. And given the experienced politician, I hope they'll be to me this the experience now when after also before years somebody he should leave that enduring governance structure for us. Irrespective of which government comes after him, there will be a system that will endure beyond him. But it is as important as the future going forward. This is President
Kufuor is more experienced than President Mahama. He had 8 years. He couldn't do this amendment. All the whole pressure from Mahama. But that's just by the way. Next week, Wednesday rather, we will look at our opposition now. Baby, I'm not starting Mahama. I don't even understand you. Yes, so in why are you rushing? No rushing. No money pressure. Next week. More money pressure. More money 8 years. More money pressure. Good evening.
Good evening, Steve here. First of all, no, Prof. Charles Prempe, Prof. Opoku. I think they've had, Prof. Entry. They've really educated us on philosophies governing governance. And it's very healthy to us. Yeah, pay academics, more so, Prof. Charles Prempe agree on. So, because knowledge is like orgasm. That's why he said. And I subscribe to that because the elections new year, as a researcher, me tenasi bisa say, Ghanaians in that way. You understand? Intine mame Musa Dankwa exit polls or they out and I try to find out why Ghanaians voted in a certain pattern. And I don't know if you find time to go to the exit poll, a global info analytics for normal. I don't know if you're when your time.
Me reading now.
But I have the time.
I'll read it
Wednesday
because me want other research initial ones. Which I've read.
Yeah, but try so be interview maybe a Wednesday. It's very good. And then
it's difficult because of distance, so it's difficult to get him. That's why.
Yeah, because people
have said it, but Ghana people very used to technology. Sometimes even internet, everybody.
Very, very educative and very brilliant. Because me, first of all, I try to ask myself, say, South Free SHS one call me over 2 million. Why didn't they vote for Baumia coming from say no more trumpety free SHS? And it was interesting to know from the research.
But if you look at Musa Dankwa initial report now, the key issue was about economy. So the fact that why free SHS does not truncate the influential element of the economy.
Yeah, but when most of the NPP people now no more ban, they were standing on the shoulders of free SHS saying Kwalana betuamo.
But Kwalana have rejected that. They voted based on
me. I'm a pair academics in research, I try to find out And interesting to know, no, Nkwalano, because of a common name, they didn't vote based.
But check your microphone. No?
But
Sure.
They didn't vote based on free essay, but they voted based on the harsh conditions. You understand? But more lower income, under lower income, no. They voted for free essay because only country fees in it. You understand? It's not a very interesting.
No, because don't forget, no, so no in the bracket of breadwinners. No, they all voted NDC.
No. Share exit poll. No, patrol.
Okay, that's Musa Dankwa, no.
Exactly, Musa Dankwa, middle income earners, no. They voted for NDC because they know they can afford their awards fees. You understand? But more below middle income earners, no. And you more more brands and more can. They voted for NPP. Baumia said free SHS is good, and it was quite interesting how the dynamics played out in the elections. Whilst they cut something about Ashanti region, they didn't turn up to vote because of developmental issues. They voted. They didn't vote because of development. Obom region, there was nothing. And our board, Nana Frempong, like all Kanyama really played out in Ashanti region, which going for Minister Mahama will pick this research. No, dear, who they were voting patterns, economy, infrastructure, no, so no, dear, IABB, and yes, Ghana, funny trace, voter region, Omotumami, Ashanti region, Montomami, Omuye, no one share the core needs of the voters. Now, you make a mistake to say the MPP for making mistake. MPP for Komunya research 2 years ago, they could have amended how they were doing.
No, they had a research. Master power code to
whichever way, because Oshe Musa Dankwa research, say amount for making your margin last year. As in last year, people have decided.
No, bruh, the 2020 election results was enough to show you Senkoye. 2020,
yes,
it was enough. 137, 137. But when I was a politician,
they never learn. They never learn. It's make governance there. Uyo bia be buamaya and for research in Diagro. May that's what I want to. Yeah, research. They be a global info and analytics. Research no go to every 90 days where they were conducting a research, which is very good. And what was going on in the country? For research serious, they would have done something. And no one for the Mahama say, oh bano. Emane fan the research team and the office the research on Emane fan Niagro. First of all, he should tackle the economy, and afterwards, area bia with development or mope. On share no more by Emane di the party na adrian so yama we ni akoye. Yes, a kufa do DSC people are predicting doom for him there, but me, I believe that this is the second coming. He got nothing to lose.
Yeah,
he can do something to appease the public and also that's it.
That's all. That's all. My man say. Also on Ginny Nonko. Papa Jerry, good evening. Papa Jerry, yes, good evening.
Good evening, Steph. You had to say.
Adam.
Yeah, me faka kranka sister the obekai. I'm so bisa prof about we say onka 2 major things. Mama buy if it's my holding accountable and continue can then or no find a different dynamic that they buy. To me, I think say enema mienu mama ni kanye. Reform of the constitution. Omenian, because right now he has the power to do it. This is the time. So that time anye man free wa M1. And a second, father for all president like before. Or acting like a leader. So humobro president is M1 Ghana. And because of how project they are to our to Orano operation recover all loot. They should implement it because it's a scanning system. That's the only way on betting my
Hello, Papa Jerry.
Yeah.
Papa Jerry, Papa Jerry, Casa, where you need to call Casa.
Okay. This time, no, sir. Oral project no more at their ban.
they should implement it. Omo enforce na because they say Ghana ni sika. And a sika the majority na ashe parliamentarians ne eto. It is our operation recovery all loot no idea no mdiaban. I support it. I subscribe to it. And non kwa keke imagine say yakwako yetimianya this $58 million for National Cathedral. Cecilia da Pasika Omoje for $43 million for Odo River. It's gone. And who be Ameridale, PDS. Sasika wage na Mama Jia the first 100 days no bet me there yenema bebre. It they should force.
So in the first 100 days because open most of the cases may require courts.
Matthias,
Matthias,
but they should push it. More mountain. Sir, operation those days na Mama buy so father for all nation builder. Sir, Trimudeda Daba president no etwem. Omeye president. A man may consider because you are your first one. And as on the 4 bills, it the fact say you lose the election by almost 1 million votes. Now you coming back and you won close to 2 million. It as on say and it does so for being a Ghana for any woman. It this time don't come and play. Me NPP before, but yet we see Ghana first. Baby, I do say no. Yen fa and Pibon time machi na whatever the case may be, no. Ontimi enforce not NPP for yen sa propaganda na ya started the pressure person is in so na. I waba ye so betima tete obetimi dokuma about 1 cedi waba obetimi the dollar about 4 cedis. Come on. Mokro ya na mo wa bama ya mo say 17 is $4 is bigger than 17. It then I will be force himself don't family for. That means an amount kind of crap. And I tell you one thing, and I heard Miracle Abuaji, and I was surprised. For the first time hearing from NPP communications guy say, Akufo-Addo should have listened to Ghanaians concerning the cathedral. Because not Ghana form prince. Still, he went ahead and do it. Nana Komia have said it, say, they lost the election somewhere 2020. Also, they knew said they've lost the election. Oh, they know the truth. It's in Yenya, sir. Yawumia Tumu party, women are me free to the Kianeke, as I said, me can't me didn't trouble na me deba. Say, young granny, you see, baby, Paumadu, as they say, they are trying to portray Baumia, say, Omre be no be pushing out to Ghana for us. That would be another disaster.
Okay, yeah, what do you know? Yeah, Mahama governance nasa.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, what platform be brave so? And most of
and what the propaganda now mo yenti for why drink so. Yeah, intellectual one in here one. You forget the platform for no mo dey. Omo propaganda nkwa no mpese omo ye. Nti obaje ma me na ase. But I think your point is good. Miracle mo dey me and me come back and fire omo nyina. Omo nyina omo disappoint you. Unni good dey ya na be kana. In a cathedral. I don't know, man. Me can't cathedral. Some they were attacking me. People about hanging out. Me, I'm not catching smart time cement. I don't come out. I'm support cathedral. I said no. Yeah, they here.
Thank you.
This is not a you're prioritizing here, man. What I say? Even the sighting of a cathedral. We complain. I didn't go across center. Yeah. Protocol has about match with stadium. Baby. We said all these things, nobody listened to us. We tried decision here, we said it, make cathedral committee, no. My meeting a couple of times initially when they started. I thought one hour, I went to say, yeah, Bombay program, so because I was there. This is God ordained one, and I thought when you're complaining, and I'm like, what kind of hypocrisy is this? The first 2 meetings that the cathedral committee will have opportunity to attend. And I complain, I say, no, this is wrong. Well, your man for the views of the people. As so far as I say now, me personally call you so far as Archbishop Pamabako Duncan Williams, so
I mean, why would you lie?
I was there at the committee.
Right. Well, even a talk, Rano. My point is, some Kamubaya Krana, take it outskirts. Accra is already choked. What baby passport office?
I said, I hope it's me.
I must have my Pokua Suhum in Fako baby to develop there. My best send you my pato. I'm a my penny no Tobia Sama. In fact, I had drink, but at least Ghanaians have proved to them, say, due to December 7th now, the power belongs to the people. It, you know, I'm so happy what happens. And one thing about NPP for Nafia, the only time they listen is when they are in opposition.
And that
was my slogan. That's the only time Ombe yo mukoresi. Now after Ombe matters Ombe pam penifobia. That I careless.
That's right.
No, as long as I'm who mistakes, you know, deal with it. If I'm in a casa about meeting be 1 or 2 be now
after elections, no.
Right after election, you know, he is not rushing into anything. But on
it is now time for fire second for 2028
let's say we'll be pushing a candidate, a politics. But what can be or NPP so much? The heart belongs to the NPP. He's feeling it more than Baumia. He really wants to be in power. He really wants to be in power because who got no position. You might think that 4 years is easy. I fear easy.
Or nothing no investment I can see.
Thank you. It's and small joke as we are saying, say I'm for propaganda on a can me lose and a sad statement. I don't want to hear it.
Propaganda.
Yeah, propaganda. He's not into that. Can't support Baumia.
What's the campaign or I said I didn't want Makopa. Some more can a bantama. So no your campaign and say on one can say onim consequences of Batra.
I fear more Ghana for no, they like to pick being picky. In some kind, that's the same thing during Ibantama year Mukofa as in some Amico contest and attack him. But he said a whole lot before Oscar could contest him and could contain all can or catch the assembly. But they picked that part to campaign against people for the year. You right now, no, all Casanubetia, or do baby not say, but Baumia himself, I don't have problem with him. As a matter of fact, I laugh with Baumia, I mean, no beer near them. Name no to me, those days all cocky can so all the case in it to the society. Yeah, he hurt. Would your war so put me our colleague and free the same party? What do you think will happen?
Yeah,
the man was on the cast and semi, but that doesn't mean say he was going to sabotage the party. Okay. Attempted there, the supporters did no ebra or disappointing on my Coco Baumia platform. He took everything by himself. Because Ghana first, I'm Ojana simply as you can say, or yes, on ya dear man, yes, selfish. He's supporting Baumia. I said, well, we need to know as a sort of campaign against Baumia. He's not going to do that today and tomorrow. He said it.
Papa, again, when they made me that do Abasono about the Penononi in Casa. Because me sending a message, I'm hearing so who said they own the old number.
There's someone losing to be any submarine patch up. Manatine.
Mate. But I'm can get. I come home your message and come reply. But
I'll reply in a due time.
I understand. Only in Casa because I saw those videos now. I was concerned. Say, Shedan was sabotaging or more auntie.
No. He's feeling it. On one more. Oh yeah, you find say year NPP one. He's mourning. You know, I almost 2 million vote losing.
Wow. And by a good lesson, people won't go because
that's the whole key. You say people won't.
Mr. Canada, Japan area, Hopper and then tier 12 on my Japan road. On one Canada, Japan in Nipa, Oporiata,
committee 12 for no.
Committee 12. We have baby, I get also, just bro, why yeah, or no canopino, I'm a quarter, why any fear, why any fear road. Double over. Yeah, me want to say papa me someone come the one any say so. Why you need asphalt over asphalt? How was it come to 10?
That tells you the way their mindset. That tells you their mindset. So, now over 80 parliamentarians.
They lost Tema Central. Oh, Temane yet one. Maybe oh maybe I want to lose. Tema Central is Tema or losing in our so we are bro. Why you sister? Why you feel? I am the chrome and show why you want to now that's
when then you expecting to win election in that constituency. How can you win such that area? How can you win?
Yeah, sure, no pepper.
So there's a lot of homework. They have to sit down and do it. There be a number of and people thought say, "I don't like Baumia." Oma ha papa no. Oma ha Baumia papa.
Wednesday. I bet was waka. Black good evening.
Good evening. If you are in Medasipa and then our family.
I'm the fan. Like I said. Because of only Kenya, you need to know more information.
Okay. Before I go straight to the point, in the Meda professors me and I really enjoyed the orgasm part.
Let me tell you one thing. I can't engage you. I have to get a mental orgasm.
Yeah.
I was mentally no connected. You don't attract me, won't tickle me.
Not just a piece extra, I don't know.
I'm telling you what being, there's always, there's some attraction that will pull me to you. You won't be there, I must forget. I like the point that Prof made. This is intellectual orgasm. You need to get it as an
but if there's something profound that omuji free moi and can feel some of the kanwanka ebeme the power. It's about how we found our political parties, Nipa be bria dream course. You see, copy and paste na ye fear brofo no na ye democracy no. Adeba kwa brofo ne ya no. How they fund their political parties. You see, you have these millionaires ne nyoma omu donate to the political parties. Omu via omu the tisika no munya no. To the latter, who say, oh, this is what Trump had, this is what Obani say, any of the funded political parties, Obi beside who say NPP for Nyasika when here no mutichiska in these elections. Obi beside Honda. And you see, these are things that are running or mining down. President Mahama and Betty Chairman for that's fine. That is what we are all expecting. But you see, we beside who say who are the people who funded President Mahama's campaign? Yembisa ye and refuse say some of one no more disika shame no no like if this will be disika be shame no expect be no it won't happen. It won't happen until you have people like Woyome who are financiers of NDC among who are collation centers. Me ko Twitter ya me who say be complain na Woyome dey ban say na say the country who fi NDC who because he's blemished. Saying this, yes, Munim baby omunye sika na omode finance your campaign. Yes, you see how we fund our political parties, a problem. But you see, I cannot blame us because the economy didn't grow to that extent now. Amount for bit me donate huge sums some political parties. Until you have these businessmen and then in bad ways no fund the political parties until they have say I had to say pull strings from behind into all these contracts now it's ordinary man now would in the streets in the sun you don't know what's going to go on. But let me come back to Adeba Koswa NDC for I'm up for clamoring for us. NDC for me, Me who say it will be the last break in the camel's back all around. You see, there's no expiry on criminality. I'm up 4% all around the coso. But I'm up for you if he say NDC for so sebi omo abemuno omo crown no bi anase corruption tina akofado T OSP no special prosecutor officer no. Iti amafo amana yete say as MPP for nko an be wie ska. the whole political class or political class, you know, Mimi use any other word. So you see, Mahama, and Adrian says, I do the Bayejuma. No, to me, Omunina Tumwa. It is going to like a bit trickle down. It will affect even civil servants. If you are the way the politics, Ebukana, Ebia Yemubi Waka, Motofwa, Ache, Omo bo man kabako crash to your civil servants. Chrono mo bo.
Manina evidence asem court asem near this.
What I say by any nimba, we are near the court. Chrono mo bo. It is a Mahama Timi ya. Do you know what's going to happen? Some Mahama start to meet NPP for Nugumua. Okay, the best say. You see all those MPs double salaries in this annual man. So one day, MPP for me by Bemwa. They are going to visit. One thing is almost started to cheer more. A bit boy, ordinary citizens.
But that we haven't seen and we got Chicheno.
Is there a Chicheno if you are
unconscious? I you said Chicheno Maso.
Maso.
What's here with the then out of Cochi?
What did they look
We also are from one or on the plano. How they bubble chrono. And to him saw the once the baby or the best miscellaneous, they have justification. About you not check. About good evening, Boga.
Good evening. Yeah.
We don't catch it.
And I enjoy conversation about professors, patron next week and in the week at was for more brow right now.
Yeah, next week
it was very deep. But one thing that more discuss, I think they didn't go very deep into it. Not Prof. Prempe my historic background, but we didn't have time for him to do that. I think if he had said that base now, that conversation would have built up. Maybe the Americans are him for the union free politics in crap. I don't agree one bit. It's not say be a big woman in here. I know I don't want any iron to be subjected to that. But history have shown us say iron for Obia just by the right of his birth is giving power over everybody. It's not even the British are trying to get rid of the monarchy, although the monarchy has no political power. But because they can influence, they are trying to get rid of them. Slavery, everything, every blemish on Black history, and all the.
I didn't see a bond of 1844. One almost signing.
That conversation, I don't even want us to have another kind of House of Commons for them. No, they should.
But the history of said your politicians handle your Japan, the gold, diamond, oil near there. And I have only better choice. So at least I will matter. Between two groups and one and Quebec managing resources.
One of the worst civil wars between Ashantis and the Gokus was because one person found gold in Kumasi. Big enough. So time gold dust and ultimately keep it. If you get gold near nugget, it goes to the palace. And Odiganeko Cape Coast. It started a war. About 7,000 people were slaughtered for nothing. Because I know history, I am for them. I think the 1992 one, the only thing they got right on the constitution, and as what kind it was chaired by Ohene, and I'm sure said that Ohene, knowing exactly the influence he could have gathered for him and his people, but Ghana first, you know what, cut us from this thing. Now, to say modern Ghana timpa corruption in foreign because you're in ho. Mining areas in fear. The corruption that is going down. Sika mines na the mine for no. Because
on the side.
Count 9. It doesn't trickle down anywhere. It can't feel. Now, when you are some cry, I will say, you know what, you don't want to take it to court. Out there, quite feel. Yeah, Joe, bribe na illegal. Yeah, cast when him say so this is canning, sunning, and punching eba. A bribery. but it's legal. Yeah, hear some no, and yet it's not good for modern politics. That aside, NPP for, I think they should be grateful that they even got the last 4 years. It is the same motor to blame. They knew that already. But MPP is more guilty of this than anybody else. They prioritize their party over the nation, period. If it doesn't help MPP, to hell with all of us. And that's the reason why.
They prioritize themselves or their party. Because party for no too small, says can be a resources they are
we have to kind of put our attention onto how parties are funded. We have to also put our attention on how parties were founded. The NLM was found on chieftaincy. As I'm taking a chairman here in the Kuchen Ryan with Subinso at the starting party. It's not a democratic party.
But when they came back to form this MPP in 1991, 1992, and we are in the Patriotic Club, those things were not there.
What is the only difference? Look at the post-Chow for Akufo-Addo. If you saw your hand, that is why he dares tell a chief to stand up and shake his hand. Although traditionally, no matter how small a chief is, he sits and you stand and you shake his hands. But he felt. The way I'm going and I Ghana, so Ghana throne. It's not a throne. So that understand, they have to understand that.
Okay, very well.
So and no, very, very important. It's my fancy, I think not blessed in your binga.
Brakam Medasi baby, Medasi bless. Good evening.
Good evening, Sevia. Nyamen kan ho pa no adwuma pa wo ye mechia watiefo na Sevia mun se mo de mu adwuma we mu ache na enam se mo no kredi a mo ka free titi besi nenti no both parties ni bia no mo mpe mo adwuma pa mo ye no because of say munji adem die bia na munye se wo mo a ye koma musika na munim no kure pa na makotwa nchen afa nchen na manka no kure ente be hardly se mo adwuma pa mo ye pa no so ubenya sponsor bi so obeso wasene ana so obehunu udwumadi a wudi pa se obeba be support o pa de oboa eye wa wo mu jana na bebre ni because parties ni mienu nyina no sister Fia wo mo nka no kore nkyere yen na de aya ya wo mu sister Fia me no ka se me wa abrochire na de aya na ya ne se me nka se MPP for aye niema bi a fa ne se omo anye ni yie and NDC for so by be on better kunwa so be almost so anya niema ye but sister Fia yen kan hu se ye kura se be mpreduasa ye education ya ankosoro kese kura ansa na ye nya mmoa bi afiri Ghana me ye de ba abruchire no technologies ye adwuma se mechanics a se unim form na adwuma ye womu wo send emails ne sa niema won wodi phone ye niema wo twa picture won sa ama bibia no ye technology na ye de ye adwuma ba se de ntia ma ye kurumfo no empesa niema pa na epese e continue say that say ye NPP aban na de beba say ye NDC aban na de beba na yankasa ye nipa na ye timamufo no yempe ade ebe de nkoso beba nyina ye say ye befa kwambone so kalabule ye bebu ye nua sa niema bone no because aha no bibia ye network so we internet a ubetima tena ha wasend we email say your documents are ye no online and na UK ye mewe ye di visa ne sa niema ba ofa wa laptop a until you can imagine say won need access to sa niema na untumi nya ne bi so wo firi obi a owo nimde ne chen wo obetima beba fie ana say obeba beboa enti nka meme hu ni sa technology ya enka MPP aban de ba ye fane se me meka se omo wo mu mistakes bi omo ye na fane se bi ama omo afira ban mu na me bisa me hu se sister Fia ye betima ato sa technology sem no so ewo ye mani mama sa
Mahama kan mbeto after Mahama started digital center ye nyina that was the beginning of the say until I think beto
eno de se nke beboa na ase bebre so eka wo mo nkasa mu se bia menim dia na wa correct bebre so kasa eka na wo mo nkasa mu mu hu ni sa se no mfa ne say NDC aban ba enam so munya corrupt institution bi ma bribe sem to yaba ho ntino mo na ani nje saa technologies na eba no because of say sisi amene o kase me wo madam fo bi a yetatie na kona ba na awreho sem bi esi enra na me de to dwa bi a minim se bi a be ye omo de say meka saa yi na akropon brand omo ani afira suku na e wo ho no this afia obetima e follow up ye omo akonaba group no ye say omo agya nan ne omo bathroom ne niam bi a facilities e wo ho ne enye nti ye omo ngigi sika na omo nkoboa ne nyina nkoso ye nyina etuetua bi a de koboa ye di kan koye bath house no eboai sese na aka toilet ya nifrafo no ekọ a omo koye omo ya toto ho niam nyina. Could you believe say and head mistress no ameya betintam enema no nyina soa a yesan de kwa akra because of say
what
or say nkra ni nya sa new you can say toilet seat na so ope hwitim de na ye kono na in terms of
say toilet e be here bon verify answer because Ghana dey ake any yes yeah
oh sister Fia you will be
obi be ye eyi ama wa ma me wo voice maame no
ye wo videos ni nyina ho a uko
wo video a chese maame ne ka se ye toilet
chese omo akwose sanne ma no kura me no ka se nura
but it be ban say onim sesa no ho hwe
onim
ye temple no there be opening so don't sit in abroche and make a claim that you don't have evidence of
sister Fia me wo
chese maame no anka se gina ho say ye toilet
chese wa enti enam sha so sister Fia omo akwose sanne ma ni nyina afiri
this is not our topic but I want me person munya abotire abroche boy ya tore bia mo ti tempe na maso mu but munya abotire enye yes nyina na ye de kan asem so I think na court I am fire yes no
metwase
no e wo video so ana want na no asem so asem nkofa toilet mpacho entabi
metwase
what to say but you want to verify me pacho because
obi
anyone more chief was asem pakodo toilet or there may be a story behind it. It's in patrol they verify as why.
Mati.
Do they have to see because I don't hear your topic, but I mean, too much about that woman's topic. And yes, because the say and the anime per se, me platforms will be being say where you come in or be the me. I said, mini hop. Now I bomb me, yes, as soon as you say, I mean, you are met me, you so and then chat so so mpese ebe ni sa ejafosu good evening
Vim, good evening.
That's what I mean too.
The mpese mechanics I think say the government will not beat me any headway. Some manage expectations because you know maybe in a cedar this aura or whatever they call it or more kind. I think say send you be kind no OSP no Akufo-Addo ban one person establish one NDC for person be establish because somebody persecute and but not face or into say or resist among for expectation you do be na for NPP for no ebo say na dey na won chini pan tu me na o ma wie sika obi a wie sika because na odi kan say we do dey agro we dey ache so me say nipa no chegu mu no nya easy sa den papa to reduce evidence say we do be betu mu no enti no hwe abaye ora sa abi baby na untimi nyo bi na mafo na start o ka so be chom no ma wie sika need those things enti I think there's some manage that well definitely somebody might have done something wrong but to prosecute somebody so that easy and then also I do say na kwesi part sa ka say one hwe so a 4 years now what we invest in me tata when better no na 2 years heading
that's that now so
and if we are watch political scene so many years into me sure pass okay in 2000 they gave me Sakai say by the time they finish dealing with the NDC for part in the bed now okay start okay and then NDC were in Guye and I make say 2016 Mekai is just about Mekai very vividly just like one day or 1 hour ago Emra NDC Lusuyen a month for cancer President Mahama Triso born it no ye say or check my way no ye almost born it so manasa you make pana michi sempa The ladies are more free. To two big women and sky, do we medicica, and away stay. To President Mahama. People thought NDC will never come back. And they look at the humiliation of them and before. So in the political scene, nothing is permanent. A ham, you wait. You're too aba. Conservative for Elusu portal. In politics, I would say they were politically decapitated. Just like time. Vim. And you can't say something about. Me sure sign shall conservative were home beside winning. Many months that I labor for buy.
Takre is see your mobile. Who said that? Omo minister back to resign me boy.
You see, I'm a famous demonstration. I'm on the tractors. Ekukusi Central London Parliament House because of policies in Yemen. Meanwhile, no. Now if it's conservative for you, born some phobia. Omo kuni pomo shuni padi. Labor for can say omo buy you know. And there's not to a band. I will not be surprised if they will lose. They need 1 year. In the politics, one day prior to Mr. Sunny may be brave. And MP4, almost a minimum was whatever Basse, NDC and managerial expectations and one Sembesa Abe Bacho. Because people are expecting so much. International example for also one person all envy the reaction back on the President Mahama.
Yeah, because again, easy.
Easy. It was can say, Nana, Gina, my friend saying, James and Ebu Babano. We say almost split screen on President Hamane, Nebush 40 and a Jima. We see a bob and President Mama, if you can a money board, why Dean.
He no only my attention, only
into a Jumano S. It is what manage expectations because so many people think say, oh, and a way be easy, but and easy, sir. The ditch now, man, woman, it will take some, coherent policies and if bring to the bad Ghana for say the animal, Omaniabu, and I make a say, hey, yet to a banoma, whenever the full Lusu, labor for we need city beer. Now I see them by about 40-50 years ago. We need that. They want all the seats. I think you know what about the politics. But a 6 months, they are so unpopular. There's a man from Pomodiati.
And now Regina cannot see it's true. I voted for Labour, but you see, I regret it now.
You see? Because immigrants, right now, a bit boy can pay Labour faster. But buy and marriage, you know, be a subsidy for life. Be a free home, you know. And then politics.
You imagine that Ghana here for a yenistica. If you look at the expectation, yes, you have a free first year education, but I'm not confessed that way.
And you know, say, I'm man ye and I say, my managerial expectations now. Ghana folk career best start here, and especially in the start corruption, the normal office say, or China could be Kotumono. Corruption case, it may run here by 8 years old. And the number for when the Scottish Champagne, a cocoa G, a coin is saying a winner, or you say, manage expectation, country say, Chicano, a veggie bat, and yes, so easy, sir, because now if you listen to the convo now, I want to say, or China, or just getting in Abba. Yeah, now my be education say, or say, or this kind of 120 days in between the 120 days, it is going to be very, very difficult. And you know, come on, and tab and it's pie, and I do bit me, you know. On ye, semi crowd, you say, or no point is, you know. So, I'm corrupt, no me, a be a humble, and say, come, and an NPP for arrogant, arrogant. If you say, all caught to this year. A man for cancer and no man my arrogant, and if you go arrogant. And you know, politicians, I say cycle, but let's manage our expectations. Support the government, pray for them, no matter CD.
The same things they can't do the thing. We're repeating the same things today. Nana Mpacho, good evening. But Nana, where do my mic on?
okay. Man ya coming to me now, wa man mean to me now come kakra me de be kan ho ne se me wo ade bi wo me mu a aden na NDC for omo pesa ade ne sa on se ye kan se sa vigilante group ne yengu no wo hwɛ ade we wo no kremu pa unhu MPP for de But
oh, now we batch now we end
the by when no so woman MPP for the no.
There be act in my law no vigilante act no. You can see groups in a bomb the NDC MPP for I can pull the act for you, crab Bamba boys. The boys MPP for
when no set is maybe set yet basintele groups are almost
basintele group be any if you look at the act basintele they say na no be ya. Boy we dey 2 days ya no ba.
Enra wo mo amoho ayi kra friend no voter region oti o se omo ye from basintele group na omo ka kire MPP fo na omo wo oti ni se omo kokọ ekoto fertilizer bi se omo de ma ekuafo na saade no MPP fo nye ready say omo nye omo ade so omo kowia because omo wo groups a Oma atite baby uye wadwe se ukubia dia nyese e bia omo wono ha adwene but
No, if you don't want to play illegal, so and that's what more illegal because they're not against it.
Sister Fia wo Kumase wo Bantima oma say oma kogu neoprine ho no mo say omo bo hoban so ye wo bi wo Askwa a woman nso say omo bo ho ban so as there yes NDC for ne say ye de amamuo na nya amamo said ye na bra yi kan de ye say musemo de bebre ye no me mete hanom to one me mpe NDC asem me pe MPP asem ba say oba na say ya meyi noma me di me noma be kofie na meyi ni free ene dollars ni status eba from no eboa me oti asie cause enoma bi a me ya no wo Ghana no senia na dollars ni si kosoro no sefia na ye nyina na ayem hihie by ne ye nimu se ye ewiase no ena konesa patrioti de metro no ewiase aye dene but ye papa si obetumi aye amana yeye enti yesre boys enu mom na me ejama yem hihie se sankrofo wo mo ne saba be ye groups to be to say na ye wo invisible forces na ye wo azoka groups na ye wo sankrofo ne saba be guma na ede ayem hihie mayem na sitafia ade ba ko a me ka ho asem ne se NDC for mo nye wo ma adwene se free education no o mo betwam
no, open you something that is Mahama has already said it.
Say yeah, can you dear one? My coin because yeah, no, yeah,
but it's open you can't be an correct. I mean, I know it is not correct.
Almost you betwam. Me say almost share. Now,
that's it's already answered because I know Mahama video interview with Deutsche Welle on one cassette. It has come to stay. So your question is answered.
And this is the fear to Omutama, your baswa, we are your day. Say, Bibi, but
President elect Robert Nakonya, so I don't him.
Not just a woman, me pacho. Nya woman, woman buses say, ya say, and ka omu benya. It said, the former finance minister. Ebe kan say the nkebe buapa ne say enka seni abrochire ye no eno so e no kre say day school for na call a school for free day school for kroma
it na just explanation na Mahama de ama no ufa tekpe de no more than Mahama de ana I don't know what you want to say
me pe but me who say as omo be testing waters omo be testing here I say
I need Mahama den so ani nti omo be testi o man testi onya botema no
and we dey for omo dedication ni dey ya adwodwo ya koma we dey omo to aso ye mayen na afi so ye pa omo chew say oman no emu aye hihie dodo omo wene ye bo say no omo si abo NPP no me ya no mba be kase na enkrofo anto aba ba kokra na ekoto ye kra Ghana fo na ato aba no ye lose poto ya repoto
Mami na ase but me person me read a part of the bill nature in fact bill now called parliament. Some of the groups that were mentioned in the second schedule, the Hawks, Invisible Forces, Delta Forces, Azoka Boys, Bamba Boys, Mukta Bamba, former national organizer of NPP, Kandahar Boys, Boga Boys. There's a whole list. Yeah, man. Mama nyama din say money akola bi na you know. Money you know. I'm showing you what the law says. Party for you know, groups and NDC will be. You know, the law is disbanding all those groups. But I mean, I'm saying we have time to be time so that we can work within the confines of the law. Nana next week. And you're a Frank Wednesday. Why? You're being in Temna, in me about to say the Bobby Abinian in Casano with me. I can also ask him. This has been Jasu live on OK 101.7 FM, High Life Radio. Your partner radio stations are down Mama boy discussion in Ebrem. So now next week they joining them so that everybody can get the opportunity to be me actually not joining them no so and then the above account. Next week, Ebesha. Good night. Good night.